Live from the Golden Circle Sports Bar inside Treasure Island, it's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
All right, here we go. Friday. Fun. Oh, yeah. A lot of good stuff to get into today. Cofield and Company. You heard it live at Treasure Island. John Von Tobel is here. James is back in our Findlay Toyota studios. Much to hit. We get these days every once in a while during the summer with this Caitlin Clark craziness, so we'll hit on that multiple times throughout the show. And I don't even know it's necessarily a story anymore about the WNBA. It's just about the crowds and the media people who glom onto Caitlin Clark controversy and topics. So that's coming up in just a couple minutes. The end of the week means our final day of giving you a code word for our Lotus Summer of Fun. What we're doing every week is giving away a trip to celebrate the 4th of July, 250th birthday, and giving you a chance to go on some great escapes, all domestic. First trip we're giving away, Philly and Boston. How cool is that? Code word for this Friday. They're all American-themed words.
Nice.
Strong. Like John Von Tobel now that he's lost 60-plus pounds. Strong. That's the code word, 702-364-1100. Text it in. Strong. Our Lotus Summer of Fun is brought to you by our friends at Terribles, Baylaw Injury Attorneys, and, of course, us right here at ESPN Las Vegas. What's up, John?
Speaking of strong, this is a strong camera angle on me here. Feeling pretty good. Did some good yoga this morning, Feel like it's got a good pump going today, you know what I mean?
We're going to see how good you feel because I think we have some media fights that we're lining up.
Hell yeah.
And we're going to do that in the middle of the show and then bring in Mark McMillian, who's a former athlete, kind of want his take on what happens when things get physical, like the WNBA. Because I got some strong takes on a story, on an angle that I don't really think I hear a lot of people talk about because they don't really care about the WNBA or the basketball very much. We know why they care. Let's talk some NBA. John's great on the NBA. I want his take on Giannis, but we'll do that in the 5 o'clock hour. There was a big trade yesterday. I'm a very big fan of the Ball family. I once, when we had LeVar Ball on, told him straight out that I actually wished he was my father. That's nothing against my dad, Tom. He's a wonderful dad. Treated me really well. Look at how it turned out.
It's very true.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
Sad news about LeVar, too.
But I like LeVar. Well, I mean, we've known that about LeVar. I saw him trying to, I don't know what he was doing, run around a basketball court. He's had some health issues. But, listen, he produced one of the more intriguing set of prospects. I think they're mostly good guys. I think LaMelo Ball has basically been buried in Hornet land. We haven't really gotten an appreciation until this last year for what he is and who he can be. So I am, as a honorary family member of the Balls, I am thrilled for little bro LaMelo in this trade. This is great. He's going to Minnesota, where they have a winning culture.
I mean, I like it. I get it. It's funny. I've seen a lot of people on this trade really kind of trying to downplay it, be very negative about it, not understanding the logic behind it. And to an extent, there are some questions to be asked. For example, who is going to play power forward for Minnesota? They're a very small team. Their projected starting lineup would be LaMelo, Anthony Edwards, Ayo Dosunmu, Jaden McDaniels, and Rudy Gobert. Jaden McDaniels is a pretty good defender, but he's very slight. He's not truly a power forward. But if you watched the Timberwolves last year, they were felled by a single tactic. It was a simple double team to Anthony Edwards. And then all of a sudden, you were playing 4-on-5. The problem was 4 of those guys could not dribble for Minnesota or create a shot, and nobody could score, and it just completely nuked the entire offense. You needed somebody. And LaMelo, coming off a year in which he averaged 20 and 7 in terms of points and assists, is a very good scorer facilitator. You're not going to be able to double Anthony Edwards anymore. I mean, I dig it. If your complaint is that they're a little small at the 4, I totally understand. Julius Randle's gone. Naz Reid is gone. But LaMelo's a good, solid player, and when you're asked to be like the 2, then that's going to be pretty big. And I don't buy this nonsense. I hate when people do this in basketball, Steve, because I think it's a small tell that you don't really watch. There's only one basketball. these guys make it work all the time.
That was the first piece of analysis I saw from almost everyone. Two guys who are ball dominant.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example of one of the worst takes in the history of basketball. And listen, like I say all the time, we are paid to have opinions, and we're not paid to be right all the time. Mm-hmm. Colin Cowherd had a couple of doozies over the years. One was he loved Greg Oden over the very skinny Kevin Durant in that draft because Durant couldn't bench press.
Yeah, I remember that.
His hottest take ever was the combo of Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, and Kevin Garnett was never going to work because there's only one basketball.
Yeah. Well,
so I'm not hammering him because people get stuff wrong all the time. So how about two that?
Yeah.
What do you do when there's two ball dominant guys?
I mean, one guy is going to take a little bit of a back seat, but it's not even about a back seat. Like the way offense flows in basketball, every guy's going to touch the ball. It's going to be moving around. So you're going to have your opportunities. And like I mentioned, if these teams try to double Anthony Edwards, then that ball is going to swing out to LaMelo Ball, and LaMelo Ball is going to be playing 4-on-3 with the ability to pass, shoot, do whatever. It opens up the floor entirely for them. I think they're going to be a little worse defensively, obviously. Naz Reid's gone, and LaMelo is a weak defender, but he's at the very least 6'7" and big enough that where you can't really pick on him too much. And Rudy Gobert, Anthony Edwards, and McDaniels are all good enough defenders that they're going to be fine. So I think this is an upgrade, and we should not ignore that they re-signed Ayo Dosunmu. Sumu's great for them when he went over there. You've got two really good to borderline elite ball handling / scorers in that backcourt now, along with Anthony Edwards. This offense, they've gone completely in the opposite direction. Minnesota was a big, plodding, slow team that wanted to focus on what they were going to do defensively. And now they're a quick, elusive, really skilled backcourt that's going to have one of the best defensive backstops in the NBA to clean up some of the messes. They're going to be, I think, a formidable group.
Yeah, isn't that the point of having a guy who's well over 7 foot and is more a defensive player than an offensive player, that you can go one big, four smalls?
Isn't it? It's so cool, too, because at least like the basketball nerd in me, you see these teams change their archetypes all the time. So, for example,
Some, by the way.
Yeah.
So we should give the Wolves credit because they've tried to change it over
twice
repeatedly.
Yeah, right. So and that's what I was getting to. They were constructed to beat the Denver Nuggets when the Nuggets were making their run to the NBA Finals and eventually won it. So they went really big. They got Rudy Gobert. They got Naz Reid. They got Julius Randle. They're huge, just ginormous team. Right? Little plodding, slow, whatever it is. Good defensively. They got to multiple Western Conference Finals, but now look at today's day and age and the way that some of these teams, specifically in the Western Conference, are built. Oklahoma City is a backcourt dominant type team that is starting from the guard forward. Same thing with teams like the San Antonio Spurs, right? They do have Victor Wembanyama, but they're a bunch of rangy, really quick, good guys along the perimeter that you're going to have to deal with. How do you do that? Well, you get a bunch of guys who can score. They can actually attack one-on-one matchups, and that's what Minnesota's doing. I think it's a brilliant look in terms of your ability to change on the fly.
The Caitlin Clark phenomenon. How many times have we done this, right? This is chapter 13 of a real big blow-up. The Alyssa Thomas throat punch. Let's calm down. We'll get John's opinion on this. Right out of the gates. Flagrant 2, 1-game suspension. Enough?
Yeah. So
be careful.
Okay.
Don't be anti-Caitlin Clark. We live in a world where if you don't over-the-top support her or support other things, you're going to fall into that anti-net.
We also live in a world where people don't watch. So I don't know about you. I saw it.
No, I did.
I saw it live. I was watching the game and I saw it happen. If you watch that moment in real time, it is so much quicker than it's being made out to be. Where Thomas, I think it is very clear, she goes for the basketball. And I want to say this. I think Thomas tried to pull the football scrum, which is she was going for the ball, and it was like, let me just lean on you really quick so I can get up. I've done it before. I think what happened was she went to just kind of lean on her a bit. Her hand slipped, and it hit her in the throat, and then she got up and ran off. It happened so much quicker than what it really looked like. But you see these still images.
I'm going to show you a picture that we have a great Cofield and Company social media department that puts together brilliant graphics now. Look at how bad this looks in a frozen shot.
Yeah, right. It looks terrible.
It looks like the fist is being driven into the throat, and Caitlin Clark is like
right. I would say to anybody, go watch it in real time and see how it actually happens. Thomas was clearly just trying to get an extra nudge in. Her hand slips and hits her in the throat, which is why I think, 1 game's fine. She did not wind up and punch her in the throat. And this is where I think I probably get to some dangerous territory. and this is a dangerous phrase, but for lack of a better one, I'm going to use it. If you watch those two games that the Fever and the Mercury were playing, Caitlin Clark was asking for it.
There's a lot of stuff that team does, and those teams are doing it back and forth, which is also, I think, why the coach, Stephanie White, flipped out like, hey, you have to know something is coming. We got so much to build on this. It won't be the most important thing we do today, but we'll definitely hit on more Caitlin Clark, the one-game suspension, but also a lot of the media people who have come out, who you'll hear from every 6 months or so on the WNBA and Caitlin Clark. And there's, as I've mentioned before, it's this whole cottage industry. I saw a great tweet today. I don't know what account this is. I'll give them credit, at Hero of the Day, and they had 1.1 million views. They described, we'll go to break off of this, they described what happened with Alyssa Thomas and Caitlin Clark as a knee to the groin, a fist to the throat, a pinch of her underarm, and an attempt to stomp on her. Big show on the way.
Mr. LA, Mr. Vegas, Arash Markazi joins Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
Mr. Santa Clara, Mr. Seattle. Now, this guy's been traipsing up and down the West Coast around the World Cup. He loves the event. We like the event. Got to get a lot more on what's been happening at the World Cup at these venues. Arash Markazi, Sporting Tribune, is up with Von Tobel and Cofield. We're live here at Treasure Island on ESPN Las Vegas. Arash, tell the audience where you are now.
I'm in Seattle. We got a big group stage finale, Iran and Egypt. Big game for both these teams. Win and not only advance, but, win the group. So it's a big game here.
So I want to set the scene in Seattle in about 5 minutes, but let's talk about yesterday, because you were at SoFi, correct? You were there for Team USA. Just talk about the environment and then kind of how the game unfolded.
Really a celebratory mood pregame. Again, Team USA had clinched the group. Again, I was back in Seattle for that game against Australia. By the time we had gone to that night, Team USA had clinched the group. So really effectively almost like a friendly or a preseason game as far as USA is concerned in terms of making a ton of changes. And so that was the mood pregame. And then USA gets on the board quickly, 1-0. And I think everyone at that point saying listen, not a game that we have to win, but let's go. Turkey scores the next 2 goals. USA ties it up 2-2. The gut punch in the loss comes from the fact that it was literally a last-second defeat. I mean, Turkey scoring in the 98th minute. I mean, there was no more time as soon as they had scored the goal. So, I mean, if they had drawn 2-2, regardless of if the result mattered, that would have been fine. I just felt that the way that they lost took some of the air out of the building, but now you kind of reset, and I think this team is in a good position going in to the 32.
Arash Markazi, Sporting Tribune, listener Leslie, who's watching us up on video, and you can watch us on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. Cofield and Company live here on this Friday. Leslie said, I'm not sure if USA threw the kitchen sink yesterday. Felt like an exhibition game. What happens from here forward? Actually, let me back up for a second. What was the final get-in price in L.A., and then what happens from here forward in L.A. with the rest of the games and the demand for tickets?
Yeah, so the get-in price, I think it got as low as $1,200, which, again, I think just people wanted to go. And, by the way, it was really like a who's who in terms of, Hollywood celebrities, Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio. I mean, this was I think everyone wanted to see Team USA back at SoFi. The vibes for that first game against Paraguay were off the charts amazing. It is now, the rest of the way whenever Team USA is playing, and these are all win-or-go-home games, no ties. It's going to be extra time. It's going to be penalty kicks if you need to get there. So all these games going forward are big. So the next game against Bosnia in Santa Clara, get-in price, I think, is at $3K, maybe even more. But, I mean, then if they win, the big thing about them winning the group is that they're going to stay on the West Coast. So if they win in Santa Clara, on July 1st. Their next game would be here in Seattle. Then if they win that game, the next game would be in Los Angeles. So really putting themselves in a position to stay out here.
What about the important things like the condiments? That was a big story prior. Are they still getting their brands scrubbed out in L.A.?
Yeah, I mean, that was a big thing in SoFi. You know, like they have not gone – when I say they haven't gone to those extremes, there's no real condiments at the press box in SoFi, but I was at the Levi Stadium, which they're calling it during the football season, but they're – what is it, like the San Francisco Bay Area Stadium during the World Cup. But, yeah, I mean, someone going to the extent of putting black tape on every condiment name, wild, crazy. But, you know, yeah, I have no issue with food for purchase in the press box. I get we're used to having free food in the press box. I just like the fact that there's food for purchase. I think the complaint that I had and a lot of the other journalists had was like there was like no food. Like there was no food, no water, no like, you know, you had to, you know, leave your computer, go out and wait in the concession lines if you needed a drink. So that got corrected.
By the way, Steve, remind me, I have a great anecdote about the food and the media at the Aces game from yesterday that I would like to talk about. But I don't want to waste Arash Markazi's time. All right, so obviously World Cup has been the story of the month, but it is also Pride Month, and that coincides with what's happening out in Seattle, and you're out there. So walk us through the vibes here, because obviously it seems like the Iranian and Egyptian soccer federations are urging FIFA to strip this Pride match and any displays down for this meeting today. So what's going on out there?
Yeah, I mean, great question. I don't know what it's going to be like. I'm heading out there shortly after we're done here. Again, the game starts at 8 p.m. Big difference from the last time I was in Seattle for the USA-Australia game. That game kicked off at 12 noon last Friday, so there was like a party vibe as soon as you woke up. I mean, that was like a college football tailgate. Not sure what the vibes are going to be like. So no real like atmosphere yet, but you know what is it going to be like if there are flags or something of that nature? Again, I don't think anything's going to happen. There was some talk online, which I think is ridiculous, that like one of the teams like walk off the field. I mean, this is a World Cup. This is the biggest game for these two countries that they've ever played before. They've never advanced past the group stage, so the fact that the winner of this game can do that, huge game. So I'll definitely be tweeting about it on social in terms of the vibe, the atmosphere, but we don't have that quite yet.
You tell me if I'm wrong. I would assume that most Iranian fans and Egyptian fans, while they may not be pro LGBTQ, I don't know that they're going to be looking to like rip flags away and fight people. Especially in the case of Iran, I would assume that's more of a governmental stance. I mean, just give me your opinion. You're Iranian.
Yeah, no, listen, this is all about the government. This has nothing to do with the players, even, quite frankly. This has nothing to do with like, the fans. This has nothing to do with the people who are living in Los Angeles or Seattle or wherever, and like who are a part of this country now. This is all about really both countries, but Iran in particular. That government, that the majority of the people who will be at the games rooting for Iran have nothing to do with them. So, again, you're not going to see that many fans in the crowd take an exception to a rainbow flag or any like LGBTQ related thing. I mean, it is like interesting, guys, that they did pick this game in particular. Again, I've been to, 6 or 7 World Cup games. I mean, that has not been a focal point in any of the games I've covered. The fact that this was the game that they picked is interesting, but listen, I don't think it will be a big factor in terms of anything happening crazy outside the stadium or certainly inside too.
I didn't know that you were Iranian. I mean, I'm curious. Like, do you care about this? Are you into this? Because my family is Mexican, and like I get really fired up for this stuff. I got my kids, I got everything. So, are you into this too?
Yeah, no, this is a big game. I mean, this is why this game I kind of circled on the calendar, not knowing if it would mean anything. I mean, certainly the fact that they've drawn the first 2 games and have been in position to win both of them, a big moment for the country, big moment for the fans of the soccer team. But yeah, I mean, listen, I follow them. I obviously don't cover them, but it has been unique. Going to all 3 of their games so far at the World Cup. Again, their first 2 games were in Los Angeles. training camp down in Tijuana. It's been so interesting how the storyline around this team has kind of evolved, and I think that they've handled themselves extremely well. So I think even the Iranian contingent that obviously despises the government, and we all do, by the way. I don't think there's that many people who are pro-current Islamic Republic. They've kind of come around to supporting this team and realizing there is a difference between the soccer team and the current regime there.
Arash Markazi is with us, and by the way, for folks who don't know, Arash and the Sporting Trib crew does Sporting Trib Today, which you can hear on our Lotus sister station, the Iranian station in L.A., where Farsi is more than a key language, so you get the tie here for Arash. This World Cup has been a massive success. We had the number yesterday that through 56 of 104 matches, attendance record has already been broken. So Americans and obviously the venues in Canada and Mexico, everyone stepped up. They're going out to the games. Could we get the World Cup back here before 2040?
Yeah, I mean, there's been talk about that. I mean, what we can provide is the infrastructure of having these beautiful stadiums that are not built specifically for the World Cup. Again, you hear these horror stories in Brazil or Qatar about people building these soccer stadiums that are going to be used for 1 or 2 months, and that's pretty much it. And whether they're just, not used or whether they're parking garages or whatever. I mean, the fact that it's very turnkey, that is the cool thing. And so there has been talk. Yes, I mean, this has obviously been a massive success, and the entire world loves to have an excuse to come out here. And I know there was a lot of stories about the ticket prices and visas and whatever. I mean, really the story of this World Cup, and we'll see how it progresses. I mean, this has been a massive success from a TV viewership perspective, an attendance perspective. The fans are having a great time. The games are amazing. The stars have come out, stars on the field and off the field too. Listen, I mean, the other thing that I hope is that the World Cup does come back, that Las Vegas is involved. And again, I agreed with their standpoint back when they originally made the decision of not wanting to kind of spend the money like SoFi did in terms of expanding the field and things like that. It's worth it. And I really feel bad that the Vegas is not a part of it, because those fans, and I don't know what country would have played Vegas, they would have obviously loved Las Vegas.
All right, we got to hit on something Los Angeles when it comes to basketball. Keaton Wagler. No, we can save time for that one. LeBron, what's going on with him? Because I read a report that the Lakers in this window to negotiate haven't even reached out for him. Are we done in a Lakers uniform?
Yeah, I mean, here's the interesting thing is that they have $50 million or whatever to spend, and do you go to LeBron first and figure out what number that he wants, and if that number's so big, and then you see what you have left? I mean, I think we all agree that you can't just run back the team that you had a year ago. So, in their mind, sort of the best way to get LeBron to come back potentially is to kind of get some pieces in place and say, hey, LeBron, obviously this isn't as much as you would like to make, but I think we added some pieces and we brought some guys back that we think we can put together a competitive team. And to be honest, at the end of the day, it's really up to LeBron. I mean, he's made $1 billion in his career. At this point, and I know he should get paid, like a top 20 player, but listen, I think he wants to be on a competitive team, and I truly don't think if they just run this back, this team is gonna be a contender. So that's why they haven't really made him an offer, because I think that they're trying to figure out what to do with the cap room that they have right now.
Arash, you're the man. Love your coverage. You're basically making us feel like we're at these games, so I really appreciate it. Follow him on Twitter, at Arash Markazi, at Sporting Trib. We'll see you, buddy.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
A big 4th of July show coming up over at the Sahara is Smash Mouth at the pool. Ticketmaster.com is where you can get your tickets if you don't win a pair right now from James. Smash Mouth, 4th of July, Sahara, 364-1100, caller 7.
Summer weekends were made for baseball doubleheaders. As on Saturday, we'll start off in the morning as the Yankees take on the Red Sox in Boston at 10. Then it's off to Anaheim as the Athletics are taking on the Angels at 6:30. Then on Sunday, let's switch the order as we'll start with the A's in Anaheim at noon, followed by the Yankees at Boston at 4. So fill your weekend with sounds of baseball as we get you ready to head into July on ESPN Las Vegas, 1100 AM and 100.9 FM.
Bring on the fun and bring home a new Honda with a great deal on an Accord or Accord Hybrid. New roads, great deals, a new Honda. Make every moment count with a new stylish and sophisticated Accord from the 2026 Kelley Blue Book Best Value brand. For a limited time, well-qualified buyers can get a 4.49% APR on a 2026 Accord. Hurry into your Honda dealer today.
See dealer for financing details. Based on 2026 Consumer Choice Awards from Kelley Blue Book. Visit KBB.com for more information.
Car crash? Got road rash?
Muddy.
More for me, less for you.
I'm way better looking than that other guy, so I'll get you more.
Stop. It's not about the injury, it's about the recovery. Hi, this is Paul Pata from Paul Pata Law. If you are injured due to someone else's negligence, don't drown in all the hype. At Paul Pata Law, you're more than just a case number. You're family, and we'll stand by you every step of the way. Paul Pata Law, we're your personal recovery attorneys. Check us out at paulpatalaw.com.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $3 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Find the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief today for a free consultation.
Call 800-810-8599. That's 800-810-8599. 800-810-8599.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
Good Aces victory last night. John Von Tobel was there. A lot of benchmarks reached. First of all, a win against the Dallas Wings, who had kicked the crap out of the Aces 10 days ago by 30. And in the game, another record set. You got some really good veteran players and high achievers on this team, like Chelsea Gray.
So last night, Chelsea Gray gets her 2,000th assist for her career. I thought it was a pretty good moment. I mean, it took a little bit later afterward when she achieved the milestone. They had a little thing up on the board, everybody cheered for her, but that's pretty good. I mean, she's had a great career. I was looking over some of her numbers at the beginning of the season, or the beginning of her career, and how they improved in her big jump in her third year and what she was doing. So, and watching her, man, and that was kind of the theme, because I asked Becky Hammond, do I get to say Becky Hammond told me? I asked her yesterday just about, hey, can you put this into words about an achievement like this? And she said she's the best passer I think I've seen, either male or female. And you saw some of them at play yesterday. Some of the behind-the-back passes for open threes. She had a great moment where she drives baseline and gets caught up in the air and jumps out of bounds and finds a teammate underneath the basket for a wide-open little layup. She was brilliant again yesterday. Double figures with nearly double figures in terms of assists, but it's a pretty good moment. And she was, a lot of people are going to talk about A'ja Wilson with a 30-9 and a dominant performance offensively. When I was watching that yesterday, I thought Gray really stuck out a lot. And I don't think it was just because of the milestone you watched yesterday either.
Always got to mention Caitlin Clark anytime we're talking about the WNBA. Well, it jogs my memory that I saw a comment today about Caitlin Clark needs to pull a boycott in the future. And one of the things that she needs to boycott is USA Basketball and playing in the Olympics. And I thought the comment was very interesting from a Caitlin Clark loyalist who said, well, they're going to start Chelsea Gray at point guard anyway over her. And I almost never respond or reply to accounts like that. But I actually said, serious question, do you think Caitlin Clark should? I mean, the Olympics aren't tomorrow, but do you think that Caitlin Clark should start over Chelsea Gray at point guard for USA right now? Come on.
No, and here's the thing. Clark has actually been kind of underrated, I think, at least in terms of the way that she's been facilitating. So before she got hurt the other day, she had, and she was still facilitating really well. I think she went out with like 7 or 8 assists. She was on a run of 6 straight games, 20-plus points, 5-plus assists. Like, she had been really, really throwing the ball around very well. If she's like your backup guard, then you're going to be in a really good spot. But I think she's pretty underrated as a passer, Caitlin Clark. But
she's got good assist numbers. Obviously, she's got to be more efficient and cut down on turnovers. But
in terms of the actual,
she's not a. I mean, she is. Well, I'm not going to say it. I was going to say she's not a shoot first point guard. She's doing both.
Yeah, no, she's doing both for sure. But in terms of being like a true facilitator, Chelsea Gray is the one.
Yes.
Yeah. There's no
her
question.
Numbers say it.
Yeah.
Now that that thought that like, hey, she's not going to start, boycott the team. Like, cut it out. Okay. I mean, if you look at the NBA side, there are unbelievable players over the years who didn't get to start.
Right.
The second unit's also important. Now, if she's playing at an Olympic level, if she's one of the best 14 players in the country, she better be on the team because we obviously know that Diana Taurasi shut her out, which has happened on the men's side too.
Yep.
If they don't like a player, they're like, yeah, sorry. We don't want that person on the team. I don't like her. I don't like him.
Yeah.
MJ did it to Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah. Shouldn't happen going forward, though.
No.
It's her league now.
All right, coming up, we got into what happens in the streets when requests are made for combat. And Justin Watkins gave us some really good information, our legal insider. We have a couple more media fights to discuss. So I want John's take on what's going on with especially old loudmouth troll Boomer Esiason.
Now back to Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
I was going to say, just kicking off here, but we're already 45 minutes in, much to get to. Cofield and Company, John Von Tobel, Steve Cofield.
Yo.
So one of my favorite topics in sports is angst and physicality. And I want to get to what happened in the Caitlin Clark, Alyssa Thomas basketball mix-up, not only in the game the other day, but also the game before that. We'll get to that around 4:20. So there's been a lot of people who've come out of the woodwork with strong takes. As we pointed out yesterday in the 5 o'clock hour when we were on from 5:30 to 6, we played some audio from Stephen A. Smith. He's got a take on Caitlin Clark. And Colin Cowherd, he's got a take on Caitlin Clark. We know Jason Whitlock has a take on Caitlin Clark. This is one of his pieces of red meat that he loves. And they sort of embellished a bit. And they were claiming the other day that Caitlin Clark, when she supposedly went out with a back injury, was just quitting. She was just annoyed that no one backed her up. Just quitting. Boomer Esiason jumped in on this. Boomer's actually very smart. Because you remember about 2 years ago, Boomer got all pissy. He's been doing radio forever in New York. He's solid. He hasn't really made a mark as an individual. The best guy on that morning show is the guy Gio, who carries Boomer. And I think Boomer saw what Pat McAfee did because he was whining about McAfee. You saw McAfee come into the business, and then all of a sudden McAfee's like, okay, you're making $10 million a year, $20 million a year. Now there's rumors that ESPN, in spite of all the infighting and the trash talking, they might they might want to give him a deal for like $60 million a year. Guess what? For the biggest radio stars in this country, they make a lot of money. Mm-hmm. They make a lot of money. And if he can generate that kind of money on TV and radio, then he's worth it. But I remember one of the things that Boomer said is like, I can do the same thing he does and, back sports books. And like, no, you can't. You have your talent is infinitesimal, if that's even the right word, as compared to McAfee. But what now he's doing, as a lot of people do, is you lean into right-wing politics, that red meat. You do it on the left-wing side. I don't know if it works as effectively. But the other day, yesterday, he had a take on Caitlin Clark, which was layered in several ways. And I pointed out last night, you'll hear it, that he almost knocks down his own argument in what he's trying to pitch. But I think there's a couple of flashpoints in this that are worth listening to. So here's a legendary NFL quarterback, man, who's wrong with the Jets. My Jets, it was glorious.
What, if I were Caitlin Clark, I would seriously consider going to play overseas somewhere and get the royal treatment and get real money.
From the Saudis?
And I know that Caitlin makes a ton of money off the court in terms of endorsements, and rightfully so. But I think that there's a petty jealousy. She's a straight white basketball player. She is not being treated with any sort of respect whatsoever.
So we'll address the straight white basketball player here in a second. But as I pointed out before, he kind of knocks down his own argument. He's like, she should go play somewhere else, but I know she makes a lot of money here. That idea is not the craziest idea if who put it out? Oh, Sean Merriman said, hey, WNBA better be careful because there could be a venture capitalist who steps up and starts a league. Now, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, women's basketball didn't have a market to start a league, and who the hell would back it? Well, the Saudis have done it, right? I guess if the Saudis wanted to, they could go, hey, you know what, Liv fell apart. Let's just start a women's basketball league.
Right.
Now, if it was all based in Saudi Arabia, I don't think I would risk going to Saudi Arabia with Iran flying bombs all over the place. That would have to calm down. Could someone step up and start a league? Potentially. The funny thing is, the players have started a league in the offseason, but I don't think they would kiss the ass of Caitlin Clark to try to steal her, although that would be a brilliant move. Would be a brilliant move. What are your thoughts on Boomer saying, hey, you know what? Leave, because a lot of people have had this thought. If she leaves, the whole league is crashing down and falling apart.
Well, I would definitely disagree with that. I mean, the league's not. If you're actually watching, then there's a lot of different young stars that are out there that do have this, not the same level of attraction and attention, but are good enough that if you actually like the game, then you'll stick around and watch. I was just telling you yesterday, watching Paige Beckers in person was very impressive, and it's the first time I got to watch her. It was really actually fun to see. So I think a lot of people, if you actually like the sport, you're going to stick around. That's the first thing I caught too, is it's easy to say, just go across the pond and go get your money elsewhere. First off, is there money there? I understand the Saudis have been trying to sports wash things and trying to get out there in front of it, but there's not really that much out there for you. And by the way, I think you hit it on the most importantly, Liv failed. Liv tried this and failed, and I don't think Caitlin Clark is big enough, especially not in America, that she would be able to then keep afloat a Saudi, if we're assuming this, Saudi-backed league with who else would go? Because that's the other part about this. Who's she going to be playing with? Who's she going to be playing against? And if Boomer's right, and they all hate her because she's a straight white, then they're all not going to go play with her either.
So let's get to the straight white heterosexual thing. This has become a thing that now, like a lot of thoughts were beneath the surface, and now they've come to light. Again, I think hosts will throw that out because they feel like they're satisfying a certain audience. I do wonder with the older host, are they really bothered? Let's just say it straight out. Are they bothered by lesbians?
Oh, I'm sure to an extent.
Why?
I mean, I think part of it is definitely how you phrase this.
What are they, out of the talent pool for heteros?
Right.
Guys really think that way?
I think definitely a lot of incel dudes think like that, for sure. I mean, I'll go back to...
I can't find a girlfriend or wife.
I mean, now, because it was weird at the time.
Okay, that's probably the reason.
But now Elliot Page, before he had transitioned, the actor that I'm referring to, there was a big, starred in Juno, all those, what's the Leonardo DiCaprio movie that you might, with the dreams? Inception. But when he had transitioned to being a male, a lot of people were upset. Because prior then, big on-screen crush, a lot of males really were attracted to her, and then all of a sudden it's like, what? What is this? And I think that's part of it. Now, these people were, again, you're not, to the general you're just generally not attractive enough anyway, but, it is a weird, possessive kind of thing that is out there, especially in internet circles. It's weird, man.
So one of the shows I listen to during the day, especially when I'm driving in, I told you, I really like Fox Sports Radio. It's our sister station. I like their national lineup. And I think Covino and Rich do something similar to what we do, where it's a mix of sports and other stuff. And they pointed out that Rob Parker, who comes on in the evenings, great show. I think it starts at 6 o'clock. Excellent addition to that lineup. Much-needed addition to that lineup. Rob Parker was talking about Boomer Esiason and that take and said Boomer Esiason is the worst of the worst. Covino and Rich then turned it into, all right, media fight. Boomer Esiason against Rob Parker. Now, Boomer is, I don't know how much he weighs now, but he's 6'4.5", 6'5". If you see him on the set, he's like one of the biggest guys. He's 65 years old. I'm sure he can still defend himself pretty good. They were making the case that Rob's a fitness guy. Rob's actually a little bigger than you think he is, so they had this whole Rob Parker, Boomer Esiason fight thing. I don't know why we have to fight all the time.
As a regular on The Odds Couple, I'm a big Rob Parker guy, and I've met him, and we're friends. I pick Rob.
Oh, I'd be rooting for Rob.
Yeah. No, he is bigger, though. You're right. When I met him at the Super Bowl in San Francisco, and I was like, holy smokes, dude. I told him, dude, you're huge.
I have no idea if he can fight.
Yeah.
Those guys were pointing out, hey, Boomer Esiason might be a broken down, bitter shell of a man now that years later after playing football, he also might be a badass at 65 years old.
Sure.
I don't know what would happen.
Yeah.
I don't know why everything has to end in a fight, but if there's a fight, we're in for it.
Well, no, you know
I
why.
like handicapping fights. We love fighting.
You know why everything
We love
ends in a
boxing.
fight.
We love MMA.
It ends in a fight because these guys know the fight's never going to happen.
Right.
And so they want to look tough.
Mm-hmm.
That's why.
Like Boomer hasn't fired back on Rob Parker and said, I want to fight.
Yeah.
These are his radio cohorts at FSR who said, hey, Rob against Boomer would be interesting.
Right.
So we brought up a potential fight yesterday with our legal insider, Justin Watkins, and we love doing this when people challenge others to fights. Like, what's really legal, and then what sort of legal protection do you have if you slaughter someone or they slaughter you? So I brought up the example of Aubrey Huff, who's the former Major League Baseball player who's very strong on the side of, let's just say it, the anti-LGBTQ. He's very upset about the whole Giants thing and the Caps and the Pride Month, and he's been, throwing out derogatory terms, and this is his brand. He really leans into it. And Jason Page, we had Jason on the other day. Jason said something to the effect of, like, you're a moron. And Aubrey Huff sent to him, hey, you know what? DM me. I'll give you my exact address. I will welcome you to meet me anytime and attempt to say that to my face. And then he talked about his glasses and being a nerd and all this. And we ran this by Justin Watkins, and Justin said, well, none of that, calling someone a moron does not rise to the level of defending yourself. So there might be some legal issues there. Every state is also different in terms of booking a fight. It's really not legal. There are still some antiquated laws in some states where it's like, hey, if both parties agree to it, you can fight in the streets.
You can have a duel.
You can fight wherever you want.
Hell yeah.
And go at it. I found the tack, though, pretty interesting on the Aubrey Huff standpoint of, I hope he DM'd his address to lots of people the other day.
Sure.
I find that fascinating.
I mean, I would like it for the matter of fact of, you don't think anybody's really going to show up, but one day somebody might.
Meet me in Temecula.
Yep. And maybe you win that fight, but what if you don't? Or what if he doesn't show up to fight? You put yourself and your family in danger.
If you're Aubrey Huff, do you think he filters where he's like a Jake Paul, where you pick people that you don't believe are real threats? Like, you're not going after someone who looks like Anthony Joshua.
He's going after Ben Askren. I think guys like that. Guys he could beat.
Right, in the case of Jake Paul. And who knows? I mean, in the end, this Major League Baseball player doesn't really know who's behind whatever Avi or their picture or what their background is.
Oh, for sure. He's definitely picking fights that he thinks he can win. There's no shot that he's looking at a guy who is 6'6", like a chiseled 260, and is like, hey, let's go, buddy.
And listen, if you think this show, like, we haven't done this before, we didn't know what was going to happen, but we invited people to come in. I think it was UFC 63. I'll have to go look at the year. 2007, maybe? Because I was there in L.A. And we were giving away, I think, future UFC tickets, maybe even to that event. And we offered people a chance to come in and put Adam Hill in a full Nelson. Now, Adam is 6'3" and well beyond 300 pounds. He's a big guy. People came in, and no one could do it. And then a guy came in who was bigger. And it turned out the guy was a pretty high-level judo practitioner. And not only did he put Adam in the full Nelson, he picked him off the ground, and then I think he cut off the blood. Adam passed out, and he dropped him in a panic, and he was out. And, like, slammed to the floor on the concrete that was covered by a little thin carpet. So that would be an example of, like, be careful of what you're biting, because you may chew off a little too much. What are you now? What do you weigh?
Like 237, 236.
What are you, 6'2"?
Yeah, 6'1", 6'2", yeah.
I don't know how heavy Aubrey Huff is now. If you look up his size, I think he was like 6'4" or 240 when he played. What would you do against someone who's 6'2", 240? I'm not saying handicap the fight. Like, how would you try to go about it?
You got to go for the knees, don't you?
I think you have to go for a takedown.
Yeah.
Right?
You got to take them down. Because even big guys, they don't know what to do when you get them down. It's not like I do. I'm just saying, like, strategy-wise, I think that would probably be the way to go. Because then you eliminate reach. You can do all that kind of stuff. If you're getting dirty down low, absolutely.
I know Adam used to talk about one of his brothers, because they were both gigantic, but one of his brothers would get fired up, and to calm him down, they would actually go to the ground.
Yeah.
And then he would use his size basically to kind of lay and pray.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was in half guard. I don't know if he full mounted. I don't know if he was in full guard. I don't know if he had side control.
Right. And now, if I'm putting myself in this situation, my gas tank's way better now. So I can definitely,
That's the other problem in real fights.
Yeah.
Most of us have no idea of how to manage because you just elevate so quick.
I'm definitely, I'm ripping 3-mile runs every day. So, my gas tank is good. I can at least last a little bit.
How many cast members do we have? I mean, I'm not offering up our guest.
That could get down?
That could handle someone who's 6'4" and 240.
Not many. I mean, Willie's out.
No. I'm talking guests, too. I'll ask, because I ask this to him all the time. Who was I talking about the other day? Well, Marty be interested.
Didn't you say he's in shape? I haven't seen him for a while.
He's in shape.
Yeah, there we go.
He's a big guy. Well, the one I was thinking of is, and we'll ask him next week, is R.J. Clifford, who fought MMA, wrestled at San Francisco State. R.J.'s only 5'8", but he fought, I think, 7 times professionally. He's probably, I would guess, 200 pounds. I wonder what he'd probably say the same thing against someone who's 6'5" and 240.
Now, he might be
He was pretty close to him, too, although I don't think we're going to send someone on our behalf to go fight Aubrey Huff.
I think he might be too gentle of a soul, and I don't know him too well, and I've never met him in person. I think you did. What about Xavier?
I don't know if he can fight. He's a wiry 6'3" and probably 210.
I was going to say, he's a big guy, right? And he's in shape, but it's like yoga and whatnot.
Again, I don't know why we're offering up our guest to go fight. A regular who's not a regular right now because he's coaching. Do you remember when Stanford Rout came down here?
Yeah.
And
Stanford was great.
You're like, Stanford, you are a former defensive back.
Yeah.
And he walked up. First of all, his mitts are gigantic.
It goes back to my theory.
He's 6'1". I mean,
yep.
But that speaks to anyone who wants to challenge a former Major League Baseball player. These are former athletes. They're monsters.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
All right, John Von Toll is here. It's Cofield. Thanks to the live audience watching on video. We do this every day up on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. No Conflict Friday. That turned into conflict. We always love talking about street fighting and sizing people up. I will tell you, I threw off my radio partners with UNLV football because I mentioned to Matt Neverett and Caleb Herring one time that everywhere I go, I usually will scan the room and the setting and kind of size everyone up in case something happens. And I think through my head, what am I going to do?
That's not a normal thing?
They were
I do that all the
blown
time.
away. They thought I was hyper violent, dude. I'm no, I just kind of look around to see if a brouhaha breaks out, I have to find the weakest and smallest person to go kick the crap out of.
I don't okay, this might not
I don't get my ass kicked, but
this might not sound normal, but along those lines, I may or may not have a list of people that I've known in my life that I know unequivocally I could kill with my bare hands. I'm not going to do it.
I don't think that's insane. I don't have that list. I have a different list.
Yeah.
But I do. I walk in and I will look around and go. I don't think I could beat most people. But I do size up. In case something goes down, we gotta get.
But I think about
get
it
out of this.
I think about it from the perspective of like when I get into an elevator with somebody and I'm like, wow, this person's so lucky I'm not crazy because I could just kill this person right now.
You know what's funny? And for the folks here at Treasure Island, I'm not saying I was going to do it. Because we love your partnership. We're here at Treasure Island. I got onto the elevator at parking. Free parking, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Only place on the strip. Free parking. And I was going down, and a guy got on, and I had a coffee in my hand. And I envisioned him taking his left hand and smacking the coffee in my face. I don't know why I do these things.
Yeah.
But then I quickly lowered the coffee and I was like, just in case. You don't know who's getting on the elevator. It could be a crazy person. That could. Listen, if I'm on the edge of snapping, there's many more people than me who are on the edge of snapping, and a hot coffee in someone's hand, that's a weapon for you.
Yeah. Like that guy. I could take that guy right there. Just start pointing.
I don't know if you can. I sized him up. Look at those calves. I looked at him right away.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the gentleman you're pointing at, I think, is 65 years old.
That's what I'm saying. I think
doesn't
I
mean you could. Sorry, I just did it to someone over there in a wheelchair.
Oh,
she's a 74-year-old woman. All right, let's get to it. Big Five.
Easy,
Big Four
Mark.
time.
Battleborn Injury Lawyers presents The Big Four at 4. Number 4.
I'll give you, to stay on this theme, I'll give you a perfect example. Instead of Big Four, Big Five. This Alexi Lalas, Thierry Henry, and Zlatan. You don't think Zlatan has looked at Lalas and sized him up and go, can I kick his ass? Because Lalas is about 6'4", 6'3". Zlatan is about 6'5".
He's huge.
Yeah.
No, it's not. I don't think so. Well, and just knowing what I know about Zlatan Ibrahimovic, he is not thinking, can I? He is thinking, I will.
When I want to, I'm going to.
Yes.
It's just a matter of how I'm going to do it.
Correct.
Okay. Cheesy segue. North Dakota State can now play for the Mountain West Conference football title. That was not the case as of 2 days ago. They waived the FCS to FBS probation period, so North Dakota State football, now in the Mountain West Conference, can play for the title. Is it a matter of how they will get the job done in winning the title, or is this going to be tough? That was a bad segue, but you get my point. The odds makers, right away, John, installed North Dakota State up from FCS as a 3-1 choice, the third choice to win the title.
Yeah, they should be. They're going to be They're going to be really good. I mean, I think the Mountain West has some pretty good teams in it. We'll see what Hawaii ultimately ends up being and whatnot, but I think that they should rightfully so be up there. They have continuity from their team from last year. They've always played up to competition. We have seen them do it against Power 5 opponents throughout the years and in the tenure of their current head coach. So I don't think it would be the craziest thing in the world to leap up to, I think, what is a relatively top-heavy Mountain West right now, at least the way it looks on paper, and be among the top 3 teams, including, of course, UNLV.
New Mexico 2-1, UNLV plus 220, North Dakota State 3-1, Hawaii 4-1, Air Force 5.5, and then it drops off to San Jose, Wyoming, Northern Illinois, UTEP, and Nevada. I'll tell you what, and we're doing sports talk right now in Reno. I would say behind the scenes, you think Jeff Choate is boiling a little bit if he pays attention to odds? Wait, we're 30-1 and they're 3-1, and he's a guy who came from that world.
Yeah.
Of FCS. I'd be insulted.
Yeah.
I would be thinking, and who knows, maybe Jeff Choate's like, oh, crap, they are going to be good. But I think a lot of teams around the Mountain West are like, wait a second, you think you're going to come right up here and play in our conference with elevated size and speed in 1 year with no transition period, by the way?
Sure. I mean,
Willie Ramirez said the other day that he thinks North Dakota State will play in the title game.
I don't think. Well, obviously, the odds would say that's not the craziest thing in the world, but that's like, I don't know if this is a good analogy. That's like me showing up for a 5K and being like, "What? You don't think I could win this thing?" Like, yeah, of course.
Oh, North Dakota State has to believe.
No, I'm talking about Jeff Choate. From Jeff Choate's perspective, you're saying should he be upset? Like, that's like me showing up to a 5K and being like, "You don't believe that I could beat all these athletes?" Like, of course not. You're probably going to put forth a really good college try, but there's a reason why they're being priced the way they are, why we think what we do of them. We have seen them do it.
Well, there's definitely a championship pedigree at that school.
Yeah.
And we've seen some other FCS jump to FBS and have success, like James Madison, pretty much right away.
Well, and I think you've covered this before, too. I think people are going to be surprised by the home field advantage when you have to go out there to play them, especially when it gets into the later months.
And that is a big factor because, let's say it, around the Mountain West Conference, there ain't many home field advantages, especially since some of the best attended programs are gone.
Right.
What's a scary, dangerous place? Like Air Force is scary because of their style of play and elevation. Their crowds are decent. And especially if they have the cadets there, it can get a little bit loud.
Yeah.
New Mexico hasn't been. Now I think it'll be better. Like right away, you're right.
Is it the strongest? I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
It might be the strongest home field advantage. I think UNLV has worked to a level where the Al is sort of dangerous. It gets loud. But many of the biggest crowds in the history of UNLV football at Allegiant Stadium have been boosted by 8,000 to 10,000 opposing fans. Hawaii's not intimidating.
No.
Now, it's a good environment, but the stadium holds 15,000.
Right. Wyoming inherently with the playing at elevation.
Wyoming can be good.
Yeah.
The visitor side will not be full, but when they get rocking and rolling on the other side, it can be badass. And you're right. The elevation, it feels like the field, when it's going wrong, is tilted.
I mean, and we talk about this all the time for our audience, but this is also kind of a cry back to what we've talked about a lot with this football program and the support. This is you can instill now one of the strongest home fields in the Mountain West if you start to support a program that's been to 3 straight Mountain West games, because this, on paper, North Dakota State walks in with, I think, the strongest home field advantage.
Let's stay on this for a second. The setup for the game here, if I'm correct in the number of games, I think it's game 6 for the Rebels. North Dakota State opens with, and I'm talking about North Dakota State here in Vegas against UNLV. Now, the third choice, North Dakota State, to win the conference on the odds board, the 3-1. North Dakota State opens with Jack State, Fordham, at Air Force, which will not be easy, at Sac State, home Wyoming. I mean, they could come in 5-0, 4-1, and talking to the very few North Dakota State people I know, I think this will be one of the trips that they will make. There could be 8,000 to 10,000 North Dakota State fans at their first ever game at Allegiant.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
they could steal a lot of the thunder from the home field of the Rebels.
I apologize. Justin's partner, his name escapes me.
Matt Hoffman.
Matt Hoffman. Mm-hmm. We talked to him at length about this.
He went to both schools,
yeah.
North Dakota and North Dakota State.
Yeah.
And he said they're coming.
Yep. So
they're ready. They're fired up.
I am looking forward to that game because that should be a very fun environment. But you're right, like they're going to come out for that. I mean, and here's the thing about this new conference too, to the point of just home fields. Vegas is kind of the only trip worth making right now, outside of Hawaii. Right? Yeah, I was going to say
that's an expensive trip.
But that's an expensive and a long trip considering where some of these. I'm not sure how many Northern Illinois folks are going to make the trek out to Hawaii when they have to make the trek.
Yeah, I don't know what From some of the crowds last year at NIU, that wasn't a real great home field.
Yeah.
When does North Dakota State fans have a choice of Vegas? They're actually playing at New Mexico. They're playing at Hawaii, so they didn't give them an easy schedule. The Hawaii trip will be a real interesting one because that's on November 14th. So if they're rocking and rolling, they're going to show up. They might take over that stadium too.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm fired up, man. This is a great addition to this conference. Number 3.
Number 3.
I'll pose the question to you. Are you like the rest of these media NFL bootlickers, and you're happy that Brendan Sorsby got banned by the NFL with no supplemental draft? Teach him a lesson.
No, I thought that was ridiculous. In fact, I thought the wording of Goodell's or the NFL, I don't think it was specifically Goodell, but the letter to Sorsby was absolutely insane. First and foremost, what bothered me was the citing of public information, but then also subsequently telling him you didn't give us enough information. You can find all the information you need about the situation that's going on here. What you wanted, whoever it was, somebody in the league office said, I want this kid to serve a year-long suspension, and so they decided not to hold the supplemental draft. I think what bothers me now, too, and I think it's perfect, I mean, not perfect timing, but the timing is interesting. At the end of the letter to Sorsby, they invoke playing in the NFL as a privilege. How many games is Terry Arnold going to miss now? Just watch that. I watched Rashee Rice run out of a jail and avoid talking to people in the news because he didn't want to talk. I saw the Kansas City Chiefs wear free 4 shirts for Rashee Rice in an incident that he caused. We can go back to Greg Hardy. To invoke that playing in the NFL is a privilege, but then allow what you've allowed to happen 1,000 times over. And it just bothers me that this is where they want to fight the good fight. And it might be a false equivalent. I don't care. To me, it's not. You take advertising money from all sorts of beer and liquor companies. That causes so much damage to our society as well. And I am somebody who partakes in both vices.
By the way,
it comes across as hypocritical.
You notice strategically they did not mention anything about gambling in their answer.
Sure.
They can't do it.
Yep.
Can't do it.
Why, Steve? It's because they take money. They get money from all of these books to sell their official data. It's ridiculous.
Integrity fees. Remember when those came out?
They tried that
at the beginning, and we were just laughed at it. Number 2.
Number 2.
Well. Who's the only sports talk show host in the country who went on for weeks and weeks about a guy named Tom Dundon and private equity and how terrible it was if the Hurricanes won the Stanley Cup and emboldened one Tom Dundon?
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, it's me. It's this show. And now have you seen the last couple of days, good old Tom and what he's doing with the Blazers?
He sucks, dude. So for those who don't know, the Moda Center does need some renovations where they play. And I think it's still called the Moda Center. I don't know. I'm always going to call it that. But he was quoted as saying that he wants the taxpayers to pay just the entire $600 million bill for the team's arena renovations. Quote, it feels like we're making a pretty big investment by staying here and paying these tax rates. He said it this week in Portland. This dude sucks so hard. And on the heels of the news that Mike Inori, who their now head coach is, got a 1+1+1, which is a 3-year deal, but with 2 team options for the final 2 years. It is insane how they're handling these things up there in Portland. I don't know. Because this is not my original question. It's not even that original of a question. But I was listening to Windhorst today, Brian Windhorst, on his podcast with Tim McMahon, and the question was just asked of just like, how did 29 of these owners look at this guy, evaluate him, because that's what they do. That's how you get in the league circles and go, he's in. I don't get it. Bill Foley should be a shoo-in then.
And now they're going, we'll build on Foley. Now they're going to have to deal with this guy potentially railroading Portland, a PR nightmare, and then saying, hey, fellas, you're going to let me move, right? I wonder if they'll put their collective feet down. My guess is no, because guess what? If they stop someone now, there's going to be payback when they need their stadium or arena deal.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
All right, World Cup rolling on here at Golden Circle Sports Bar, Treasure Island, 55-plus TVs. Crowds have been dynamite down here. Got Major League Baseball starting up here. We are headed towards an A's game. Coverage on our sister station. 12:30 the game starts up at 6 o'clock. Another key series. Got to start winning some of these series. We'll get into what the A's did last night against the Giants in our A's Spotlight in about 15 minutes. NHL Draft is happening right now. Not a surprise in the number 1 hole, right? That was a massive favorite to go number 1.
Yeah, left wing out of Penn State, Gavin McKenna, ended up closing minus 20,000 to go with the first overall selection. The funny part about what we're watching here is Justin Bieber, renowned Canadian and musical artist, was trotted out. He's a Maple Leafs fan. Apparently, he leaned over to Bettman before he announced the pick and asked him, it's McKenna, right?
Oh, nice.
He doesn't even know his name. I believe that's Austin Matthews saying hello to him.
Is McKenna not big, or is Bieber bigger than I thought he was?
Ooh, I think McKenna's actually somewhat slight, but Bieber might have some size to him.
Well, I don't know if he's like a big guy. He just,
But like height-wise.
He's not 5'5". He's not Ben Stiller.
That's what I'm saying. I think he's like 5'8".
He's not muscle freak Ben Stiller. But he might be on the same stuff that Ben Stiller. Or, I'm sorry,
Not yet.
same plan.
Let's see. Bieber height. Wow, Bieber's 6'4".
No, he's not. Get the hell out of here.
He's 5'9". He's not bad.
So we were just talking about, as probably the only show outside of Raleigh and Charlotte and Portland, Tom Dundon, the owner of the Canes and the Blazers. And I tried to tell you for weeks and weeks, and I told people who tune in nationally and on social media that Tom Dundon is not going to be good for American sports. I'm telling you. Watch what he does with the Blazers. And boy, oh boy, he's doing it.
Yep.
He's come out of the gates here. Hey, the arena needs renovations. I'm not paying for any of it. And we know what he's setting up here. It's a showdown, and if they don't step up and pay for it, then he's going to try to move the team.
Yep.
And whether that's Seattle, which would F up the NBA's plans to expand and get a massive fee for that, or Nashville. Keep in mind, part of moving, though, for Dundon, and I'm sure he's calculated this, it will not be free. There will be a relocation fee. Now, as I learned yesterday, whatever they call the arena in Nashville, I don't know who the sponsor is, I don't care, but they're undergoing like a $750 million renovation in Nashville to that arena.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was done specifically to steal an NBA team, but that might be the target market for Dundon. But that doesn't mean the other owners are like, hey, good to go. I think they would say yes, because they never want someone effing with their situation in the future.
Yeah.
But so what we said for weeks and weeks and weeks, private equity gets involved, and sometimes it can be good as an owner of your local team. Sometimes it could be a freaking nightmare, the worst thing ever, which brings us back to Bill Foley is really the first official person to throw his hat in the ring for expansion NBA in Vegas. And we've discussed loosely, without knowing the other groups, I'm not going to sit here and compare and contrast. But I think your point is like, hey, comparatively, Foley looks like a freaking dream looking at this Dundon guy.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and look, there's a couple things with Dundon, too. It's, like you said, the detraction of being a private equity, but it's also the Trailblazers are one of their I don't know if it's premier like franchises, but it is a flagship franchise for the NBA. It is one of the more popular franchises and the ones that associated with the brand.
Really good sports city.
Yeah,
really good sports city. They're passionate there. And they haven't had a lot to be passionate about.
So I think that would distract them. But to the point of Foley, and I said this on Monday when you were out, I think what matters is the owner's relationship with the city that they're in. And Foley's relationship with this city is pretty darn good at this point right now, considering everything he's done for bringing the Knights here, helping in terms of getting at least some jobs out there with the building of T-Mobile, but also the practice facilities, all these sort of things. Like, you're helping out with the community. You're investing in the community as well. Further investing in what you assume is going to be another practice facility having to spring up and doing whatever you would need to for the NBA franchise coming out here. That shouldn't matter when you're evaluating these owners and understanding their connection to the markets that they are going to establish these teams in.
Yeah, I think familiarity helps, and that's why Mark Davis, if he's interested, he's already got a tie to the NBA with his WNBA team. So, be interested to see what MD wants to do. It's very dangerous getting an outsider because they don't care about the city. And listen, in the case of an expansion franchise, they're bidding on a Las Vegas franchise, so they're not looking to come here and then move the team. I think every situation is different. With owners, it's hard to predict if they're going to care. And I'll give you a good example. Willie and I went round and round the other day. He's basically, I guess, do we need to describe to the audience, if you haven't listened for a long time to Cofield and Company, then you won't understand this. But if you have listened for a long time, I feel like Willie with Caitlin Clark is on the same level as Adam Hill and Josh Allen.
Okay, yeah.
You can't have a conversation without it turning into hate fest is strong for Willie. But
we'll also ignore the positive points of evidence in whatever argument. Yeah. Has a blind spot for it.
So when we were talking the other day, we were discussing, hey, in the case of Herb Simon, the owner of the Fever, what's more important? Winning with Caitlin Clark or making sure that she's on a team she can coexist on and making money? I don't know. I think we're going to find out eventually. So for the league, there's a couple things happening here. One, we both agree, Alyssa Thomas, that throat punch, pinching of the arm, as some people put it, knee to the groin. A one-game suspension is fine. Mm-hmm. I joke all the time. Everyone toughen up, Buttercups. I don't know where you played basketball, and I was never a high-level basketball player, but it's a game of survival, man. It's a lot more physical than you think. That was not a punch to the throat.
No.
If it was a punch to the throat, she might be out for a long time. She's out, by the way. Which, again, we talked about red meat earlier with Boomer Esiason and his white heterosexual female thing. That crowd has a red meat. Seeing Caitlin Clark out after what people in the Caitlin Clark camp in social media saw as a throat punch, I'm sure there's a bunch of people who are like, hey, she's hurt because of that, or she wrenched her back because of that. She's looks like 99% out for the game tomorrow. I thought Christine Brennan brought up a great example, and this goes to the, hey, how should the WNBA be treating the physicality around Caitlin Clark? And frankly, I'll say it. Should she get preferential treatment? Now, the initial reaction by a lot of people was like, oh, no! Okay. Does anyone really believe that there's never been NBA players who got preferential treatment from officials and the league that were officiated differently? You believe that, really?
Yeah.
It happens, and there's a reason it happens. I mean, my God. I was barely born as Wilt Chamberlain was finishing up his NBA career, but when you look back on a guy who was 7'1" and 275 at the end of his career, 7'1" and 240 at the beginning of his career, one of the best athletes, and especially just so ahead of the rest of the field, a guy that big. Wilt Chamberlain never fouled out of an NBA game. Ever. You don't think officials at the end of games were like, we ain't going to be the first one to foul him out?
Yep.
Guys are protected. So this notion that Caitlin Clark would get some protection for the betterment of the league is not outrageous. I don't even think it's a crazy demand. I love what Christine Brennan, who writes for USA Today, said Hey, that game tomorrow night, there's a tremendous financial impact to the pounding Caitlin Clark is taking. She's now out of Saturday's 8 p.m. nationally televised game on CBS. We know from 3 seasons of TV data that viewership for that game will now be half of what it would have been if she had played.
Mm-hmm. That matters. The WNBA should care about these things, and these officials are going to be told that. Now,
I don't know that they're going to tell them that. I think that's the whole point.
Right, I was going to say, I cut my own point down. They should be told about that. My now is going to be, now do you trust Kathy Engelbert, the commissioner of the WNBA, and the powers that be to do this? Because this goes back to one of the biggest problems with the league as a whole, and we have seen a lot of coaches complain about it outside of just what happened the other day. These officials are not good. They're inconsistent. They don't know how to control a game. And the league will not invest in training them properly or getting some of the best officials out there.
So that said, my angle that I really haven't seen anyone talk about, because it's, hey, poor Caitlin Clark, delicate flower. You know, in sports, when you've got an important person on the team, you can look at all sports. If the officials aren't going to protect that person, aren't going to make the calls, what do? You have a quarterback who's consistently getting his ass kicked. You think that's going to be allowed in the NFL? Or do you think that, I don't know, Brock Purdy's not the biggest guy. If Brock Purdy's getting lit up and getting, late shots from people, you think Trent Williams is going to take that? I doubt it. It's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
If Steph Curry hits the deck this year, and a player jumps on top of him and decides, you know what, I'm going to brace myself with my fist on his neck. You think Draymond Green's sitting off to the side and he's like, we're all good.
Well, Draymond might be the one to do it on the wrong
Draymond
day.
Green would charge the person. Remember Draymond Green with Rudy Gobert?
Of course.
Dragging a 7'3" guy down the floor with a chokehold. I don't understand who plays for the Fever. And I call that Aaliyah Boston, and I've done it many times. I don't think she has it in her, and she had to back away for a little while in the first year with Caitlin Clark because she was having some mental issues. But there's no way if I'm a big and Alyssa Thomas is on the floor over Caitlin Clark and she's got her fist on her neck, that I'm not running through with a MMA-like knee to her face.
Mm-hmm.
And I might be suspended for 20 games. I don't care. Why is this happening? Why didn't the Fever in the offseason, the abuse, and believe me, you also know that Caitlin Clark talks a lot of trash and she's going to get it.
Well,
why aren't there freaking enforcers on this Fever roster? Hold that thought. Let's talk real basketball here, because so many people want to do all this other stuff around Caitlin Clark and their red meat. My red meat is angst and physicality and protecting. Let's go.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
All right, time for our A Spotlight, but VGK kind of elbowing its way into things. Every day at 4:35, we do an A Spotlight to get you ready for the weekend or the game of the night. Also look back at last night's game. But Pavel Dorofeyev traded to the Rangers. We'll get into that more around 5:30. I want to find out more details, and I do think that is setting up the potential for a big move, clearing some potential salary. And you knew he was going to be very attractive to other organizations. So last night, I thought it was massive, John, for the A's. And tonight's A's game, and we carry all the games on the radio side right here on the LV Sports Network. ESPN Las Vegas has lots of the games. 12:30 the game. Our sister station will have the game tonight covered starting against the Angels at 6 o'clock. Yesterday, they were on the edge of getting swept by the lowly Giants, being just demoralized because the bullpen has just been so leaky and inconsistent. They blew a 2-1 lead, went down 6-2, and they inched back. And in the ninth inning, listen to these set of highlights here as they came through, and it wasn't via the long ball, just really good clutch hitting to all fields. A's got a gigantic win.
One out to play with. 1-0 ground ball. outside. 0-1 to Butler. Looped into right at base. Hit Crosby. Immediate windmill. The throw to the plate from Lee is late. Demon time for Lawrence Butler. And the A's take the lead. The A's the lead. He's at second. 0-2 to Muncy. And he will fist this. Shallow left. Chopping. Fast. And it gets down. High scores. Butler scores. Max Muncy.
Great job. Great job. And then your worry was up 9-6 going to the bottom of the ninth. Like, Lordy, can they hold it? Mason Burnett shut the door. Good inning. So, A's sit at 39-42. Astros have now gained ground to get right back into it. Like I told everyone 3 weeks ago that they were a good bet at like 9-1 to win the division. I don't know if they'll win the division, but they can hit. And they usually show a willingness to go out and get help. So, they're going to get pitching. I think the A's need to go out and get some pitching because the Mariners can't get out of their own way still. They've lost 4 or 6. They lost 2 or 3 at Pittsburgh. Dumper's finally back, but he's been back for 9 games. I think he's got a homer and 3 ribs in 9 games. He's going to make a big difference if he's 70% of what he was last year.
Yeah, the Mariners amaze me just because it seems very similar to last year, like you said. Like they never really separated themselves last year to an extent, and then they have certain guys on their roster. Watch Brian Wu. If you go look at his game log, it is either 7 shutout innings or 5 and given up like 6 or more. And I just don't understand.
Wu and Bryce Miller are awesome.
Yep. But then they're not. Yeah, right, but then they're not. So, but the whole point here being is I would agree with you. Like, this is an attainable division. And you need the pitching to combat what has been a negative home field for you, as well as just an overall weakness on your roster.
A's right now have been passed by the Astros. Check that. They've played more games, so they're slightly ahead. They are deadlocked, essentially, for the final wild card spot. Everything's out there. I still think the hitting can get better. There hasn't been premium health in the lineup with the A's. They need to go get a starting pitcher, and they need to go get bullpen help, and they probably need to try and get a closer. I think the Red Sox are going to bail, and that means that Sonny Gray and Chapman could be available. Now, here's the thing. I saw a comment the other day from someone. They're like, get rid of Tommy Tanks and Jamie Arnold in the deal. Like, no. Smart, add, but be smart.
Yeah.
You can do that. You don't have to trade the entire farm.
What about the team you're about to face right now this weekend? And the team that you just faced in a 4-game set in the Angels.
They better get 2 or 3 or sweep them.
I mean, calling them for some of the pieces that the Angels should be selling off.
You're right. Will they trade within the division? I mean, they have an owner who's very passionate and very competitive. He might not. I'm kidding.
Does he even know the A's are in the division?
NFL talk, football talk, fight talk, more WNBA as well. Chef Mark is up next.
Former NFL cornerback and next-level chef contestant Mark McMillian joins Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
Here he is, Chef Mark, on a Friday. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, Cofield? I'm just sitting here, man, just getting ready to watch some FIFA soccer. It's taking over.
I want to hit the World Cup with you in a couple minutes, but I know today you spent some time at a butcher shop. What were you doing?
Man, I was my buddy Mark. He's the head chef over there at his new butcher shop, and I went over there, man, and not knowing what was going to be over there, and the news was there. It's called Diamond Spur Butcher Shop, man. Just opened like a month ago. Chef Mark Macaron, man, is a great guy. We had him on the show like a couple of years ago. He came into the studio and graced us with some great food. And, man, they got chicken parm sandwiches. I had steak frites, and the steak frites were only like $13, Steve. A steak.
Can't beat that.
Gravy and fries. Oh, my God. So delicious, man. So I guess I'll be on the news later. And the news lady, she had no idea who I was. She said, you look like a random guy that I can interview. I was like, sure, put me on camera. Let's see what we get.
Come on now. Former NFL player and a chef and a Gordon Ramsay student. He's your mentor. Okay, how intrigued were you by the steak frite that you're going to be making it now at home?
You know what? I was very intrigued. I went and got 2 steaks as well. I bought 2 steaks. I had a steak fritz, a soda, and I got like 2 pounds of ground beef for $6, Steve.
I'm down with that.
60. Yeah, you can't beat that, man, with the way food prices is right now. So I'm excited, man. And I got the steaks right now. They're marinated. He said, and the farm is farm to table. So he has their farm in South Dakota, and they have one in Arizona as well. So I'm excited to do that. They want to do some farm to table concepts with us as well. They want to host our second annual Grill and McMillian Wing contest. So we'll do that over there as well, man. So man, it's a pretty good day, man, when you can get some steak fritz and a nice little root beer soda.
What was the percentage on the ground beef? We're talking like 80-20. I'm a 96-4 guy.
80-20. 80-20. Yeah.
96-4. What a waste.
No. I mean, we're trying to get lean, Steve. That's what we're doing here.
If you're gonna eat it, you gotta have some. There's gonna be some taste to it, right, Mark?
Yeah, you gotta have some fat in there, man. You might as well just go and just have an Impossible burger. You might as well just go and eat some grass.
Trust me, we're definitely at the point because it's all I eat now. Where it's definitely just fuel, and I'm just shoving it in my mouth so I can have sustenance, and not because I enjoy it.
JVT, Chef Mark, Cofield. We're on ESPN Reno, ESPN Las Vegas. This part of the show is always brought to you by Battleborn Injury Lawyers. I know you pay attention to the WNBA. I know you pay attention to the Aces. Caitlin Clark is the biggest star, the lightning rod in this league. And, the other night it got physical. Let's attack this from a couple of standpoints with Alyssa Thomas and Clark and the fist. First, the job of the officials.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. And you thought it was going to get better. Obviously everybody gets a nice little pay raise, so you can go out and get some better officiating, especially with what happened last week with Indiana. It's a hostile environment. You know what's going on, and then to see what happened the other night transpired was terrible. I know there's people like, oh, you're on Caitlin Clark's. I'm not going to say jockers, girls don't wear jocks. But, at some point, like you said, somebody's got to step up and protect Caitlin Clark as well. She can't be out there, the only one trying to defend herself. She's out there by herself, and these girls are taking shots at her. And it is basketball, but she is the face of the league. And to be honest, the league is still going to go on. But when people tune in, when she plays, she sells out arenas wherever she goes.
Yep. I likened it a couple minutes ago to the lack of defenders on the Fever roster, and I'm not talking about playing defense. I'm talking about protecting one of your star players. I likened it to Steph Curry being on the ground and someone putting a fist in his neck, and Draymond Green's just like, whatever. Draymond, I mean, I said it, and listen, I'm not a high-level athlete. I was always a hothead and ready to freaking scrap as a little guy, but if that Alyssa Thomas is on the floor and I'm a big and she's got her fist in this player's throat and Caitlin Clark's throat, I'm running across the court and kneeing her in the face. Now that's out of control, but I'm sending a message. And here's the other thing: they didn't do it this time. The next time they play, within 5 minutes, she's getting thrown to the deck.
I'm getting somebody off the bench who really not going to play as many minutes, and I'm saying, hey, go out there and handle business. We'll take the technical foul. We'll pay your fine, but we need to send a message. And you see on that play, it was Thompson and her girlfriend, a wife, whatever she is. It's like they double teamed her. She put her fist in her throat, and I know people are like, she's a crybaby. Okay, you know what? The girl was, I think she was like 1 rebound away from a triple-double as well. She was lighting them up in the first 3 quarters of the game.
Go back to the Eagles, and maybe you want to roll on the Chiefs. On defense, I mean, I know you had guys who played on the edge, but if someone was getting effed with, I mean, Mark, you weren't the biggest guy. If someone was screwing with you, like who was the mean guy like on the field who's like, you know what, I'll take a penalty. They're not going to disrespect us.
You know what? I was the 11th guy, but we had 10 guys. We had 10 guys. Everybody on that defense stood up for everybody. From Reggie White to, everybody's thinking like Reggie was this nice guy. He was a dog on the field. Like, he was a mean dude on the football field. And obviously Wes Hopkins, Andre Waters got arrested there. So everybody knows they didn't name Dirty Waters for nothing. We had some guys that if someone took a shot at Randall or anybody on offense or defense, we made sure that we were going to send a message to that opposing team. We were playing a preseason game against the Falcons, and Scott Case just cleans Randall off. and we were already out of the game. So the defense said, hey, we're going back in for one more series. And I don't know if he still listens to the show. Mike Pritchard had to pay the price because Wes Hopkins put him to sleep on that very next drive. And then after that, we said, hey, an eye for an eye. And we set the tempo that you're not going to bully our guys. So Mike Pritchard, I'm sorry I had to tell that story, man, but he was sleep. Yeah, Mike Pritchard, he was sleep on the turf for about a good 10 to 15 seconds, Steve. It was really scary. Wes said, hey, let him inside. We're going to send a message to him, and Pritchard just happened to be the guy that was on the receiving end of that.
Yeah, I don't understand what's going on with the Fever. I don't understand their roster build. They've had this lady, Caitlin Clark, for a couple of years. I'm going to have an enforcer on the bench who's going to go out there and tear someone up if they need to. And that's in all sports. Listen, there's enforcers in hockey. You don't really need enforcers in baseball. I know, I'll tell you what, I know if I was 6'5" and 240 and threw 97 miles an hour, no one would ever screw with my teammates. Ever.
Yes. And that's the big Roger Clemens was one guy that you didn't mess with those guys. You go back to Nolan Ryan. You didn't mess with his guys. You go back to the big lefty from the Diamondbacks. You don't go after those guys. Randy Johnson. Those guys were like
Mark. I'll give you a great example. The Yankees had an era where Pedro Martinez, all 5'11" and 140 pounds of him, he was throwing at everybody. I mean, at one point he told Kareem Garcia he was going to hit him in the head, and he plunked a couple of batters early on, and Mike Mussina was expected to give some payback. He didn't do it. I mean, borderline Hall of Fame pitcher. To me, that sticks with him forever. You don't back up your teammates.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on with the Fever, but they got to change the culture there because that is absolute nonsense that's going on. Let's switch to a little football here. Speaking of poor judgment, like illegal judgment.
Oh, my
dude,
God.
Terrion Arnold of the Lions, a promising NFL career on the way, and he's pulling, basically this is like, the allegations are like OJ-like, You get something stolen, and then you're sending someone over to go light someone up, and you're like, hey, video it while you do it. Well, what is this kid doing?
Yeah. Well, you can be, I feel for the guy, man. He's an Alabama guy, a really good dude under the surface, well, I guess on top of the surface, because under the surface, this is the true guy that we're seeing now. You go out and you hang out around the wrong crowd, and we say it every year. Somebody's going to do something crazy in all professional sports, but you videotape it. You have text messages. You're going back to just call the police. You know what I'm saying? Just call the police, like, hey, they stole my stuff. What is it, a couple $100,000? Guy makes a couple $1 million a year. He was one of their top draft picks out of Alabama. And now you see him in the courtroom with the turtle suit on. So embarrassing. He's just throwing his life away. And it just seems like, man, my Alabama guys, man, we just can't seem to stay out of jail, Steve. I don't know what's going on.
All right, well, let's talk about something a little bit more positive. UNLV football, obviously, trajectory is pointing straight up, considering their 3 straight Mountain West Championship games. And the recruiting seems to be in a pretty good spot, and I would feel like this is a pretty attractive program for a lot of people right now, Mark.
Yeah, it's going really good over the last couple of years. I always tell Steve, Steve's been around the program longer than me. And what they've been building, for the last couple of years, even at Royal, you see some of the guys that he recruited, some of those guys are playing in the National Football League. And, at a high level, and, they just continue from Oldham. Now, you got the Pied Piper out there, so they're doing a really good job of recruiting, obviously with some new rules coming out where guys can't play 6-7 years. I think that'll be good for high school kids now, that you're not going to be playing against guys that's 27, 28 years old. But what the program is doing, man, they're doing a fantastic job. And I'm always on board with those guys, man. And I like going to the practice. I just went a couple of weeks ago when they, had a little high school tournament and chopped it up with Hunky Cooper. Hunky's a ball of knowledge over there. And just seeing the direction that they're going in and seeing Coach Mullen, seeing him happy, it just seems like he's just rooted into this situation. It's not the pressure of the SEC. Now they're supposed to be the top dogs. You lose Boise State, you lose San Diego State, but you do bring in some really good players, teams they're going to play against. You got Cal, you got North Dakota State. So they've got some teams that they got to get off the gate with early in the season.
We only got a minute left. I'm glad that you mentioned the 5-5 thing. I feel like Mullen and the staff, in anticipation of that, decided, you know what? Let's start recruiting freshmen because the transfer portal is going to dry up to a certain extent. Mark, it's the end of June. They've got 27 commits for the 2027 class. 27.
Yeah. When is the last time that happened for UNLV? Never. And like I said, you see the shift in their recruiting now, and you're probably going to see the shift in several other teams in recruiting, particularly in the lower level divisions. The Power 5 guys are still going to have a lot of money. They're still going to go out and pay these players. But for a program like UNLV that has a lot of promise, playing in a good stadium, you're still going to play quality opponents. Now you have an opportunity to go to the college football playoffs. It looks like a little easier because Boise State is not in there anymore. But there is some teams that's going to come in that's going to challenge those guys for that title. But it's a good sign for high school kids because they were just getting phased out all the time. And now you see these guys flying in on helicopters at the Petita facility. You got guys throwing up, Rebels. They're shooting dice. I love all the content that they're doing over there, man. I can't wait for the season to start here. Go Rebels.
Mark, we appreciate it. Thank you. You and I need to play pickup basketball. Let's see who's going to get more physical. Let's go.
Well, see, last time I played basketball, I tore my Achilles, so that is totally out. I'll be a set shooter. I can set some screens, but I can set some screens. But how about this? I'll bring the food, man. I'll bring the steak frites and the wings that we can eat afterwards.
Believe me, if you listen to the show enough, I talk about all these different things that I'm going to do athletically, and then I'm like, wait, I'm old. I ain't doing it. I ain't taking the Achilles ain't going to get blown. So you're smarter than me.
You were supposed to run the 40 during the combine this year, but I couldn't find you, man. I didn't know where you were at. So maybe the first game of the season at Allegiant Stadium, we can get there before everybody gets to the stadium, and we can time you in the 40.
I already showed my athleticism at a game. I did that donut eating contest. Come on now.
Let's do it.
Mark, we're up against it, bro. We'll see you later, okay?
I appreciate it, fellas. Have a great show.
There he is, former NFL cornerback, played upwards of 9 years in the National Football League, Mark McMillian.
Live from the Golden Circle Sportsbook and Bar inside Treasure Island, it's Cofield and Company.
It's Friday, gotta get down on Friday. Everybody's looking forward to the weekend. Partying.
Yeah! All right, here we go. Friday. 5 o'clock hour. Looking forward to the weekend. I am. John is. John, this is like your first official weekend off and maybe some family duties not there.
Yeah.
You're good to go? You already got plans? I tried to kind of angle in on some of your plans. You were talking about it before the show. I'm like, hey, where are you going?
That's where I was going.
I know.
Local establishment.
Should be fun. This time of year, I look forward to the weekend, as Rebecca Black says, when things are a little bit lighter. So let's do it, right? Let's do it. Big deals going down in the NHL draft. First of all, you had a snitch on a draft prop.
Well, maybe.
What'd you win?
Nothing yet.
Are you in or not?
No, I mean, we this is it. This is the last pick right here. So whether or not my guy goes is what matters. We had John Buchgras on VSiN earlier this week. Keaton Verhoff, under 7.5. So to go 1 through 7. We are on pick number 7, and ask me if Keaton Verhoff has been selected yet. The answer is no. So this is it.
It's going to be a very emotional moment.
Yeah, we need the Seattle, I was about to say Mariners, Kraken, to get Kraken here and to get Keaton Verhoff, which might not be the case because from what I understand, Chase Reed, who is still on the board, is a very highly touted prospect, and there was a little bit of a reach early in the draft from what I gather. Don't ask me why.
One mega deal is in for the Vegas Golden Knights. Could there be another one before the end of the draft? We'll see. This may be setting something up. We'll get to Matt Neverett here at 5:05. Voice of baseball in Las Vegas. Pavel Dorofeev is gonzo. 35 goals 2 years ago, 37 goals this year. Was kind of light in the playoffs. And you knew there was a giant payday coming his way. Well, the Rangers have stepped up, and they said, we want him. So I guess in part because John Tortorella was a jackass and cost him a pick, they have replenished some picks. Knights are up on the board now with a new pick at 26.
Huh?
From the Rangers, they get the 26th pick, a third-round pick. They lost a second because of Tort's tomfoolery. They get the 92nd pick, and they will get a top 10 protected first-round pick in 2028 from the Rangers. So right now, to my knowledge, 3 picks for Dorofeev, and you would think this is setting the deck for either more salary flexibility or they go big game hunting again this offseason.
Potentially. By the way, John Bushcraft's never allowed on the program ever again.
Chase Reed is the guy.
Yeah.
You're under 7.5.
Not going to get there. I'm never doing this again. I would think that's the case. I mean, given what we know, it's interesting, too, with the offseason, because given what we know about the team, I think one would make the argument, and rightfully so, like, well, they're a big game hunting team. Going to go out and get some. But head coaching hire wasn't big game hunting. And maybe you're turning a corner on the way that you feel like you want to construct this roster. And getting multiple firsts and building in terms of your youth is maybe the way to go, because you are a team that is getting longer in the tooth.
One important note I often see, and I saw it especially during the Knights' run and their time in the Stanley Cup final, that this is the evil empire. The league hands them everything. The expansion draft was very simple. Well, the Kraken couldn't execute the same way. And each offseason, the Knights are a top choice of an organization to go head to for big-name players. So I assume, hey, the formula should work for Seattle. The Kraken are going to land Jason Robertson, right?
No. Not the case. Huh. This is another big loss for them, huh? Turns out he doesn't want to play for Seattle. Turns out he doesn't want $120 million.
My Lord.
And he has decided that he has turned down an 8-year, $120 million deal to not play with the Kraken.
They agreed to a deal.
Yep.
They had the framework, Kraken and the Stars. Nope.
Well, what's interesting is this isn't the first time this has happened to Seattle. If you go back to, I think it was Artemi Panarin, didn't want to sign with them either. It was absolutely insane. And so now it kind of makes you wonder, what's wrong with the franchise that people don't want to go play there? Because Seattle's an attractive market to live in and to make your money in. What's wrong with the organization already? Hasn't even been that long.
Let's talk a little baseball. Talk to someone who's very well-traveled. The voice of baseball in Vegas, the voice of the Rebels as well. Matt Neverett is up with us on this Friday. Sorry to make you wait, Matt. What's going on, buddy?
That's all right, fellas. You know, VGK takes precedence. I get it. And also, Steve, your next job, you should moonlight as a headline writer for the New York Post. Not that you didn't already know that. I like Tor Tomfoolery. That's a good one.
Yes. You are, to John's point, you're often in the Seattle area. You're in Tacoma. Our good buddy Curtis Terry is a Seattle area guy. I mean, maybe your full scope on Seattle is a bit limited, but are there negatives as to why multiple NHL players would just say, no thanks, I don't want to go there?
I mean, it's interesting to take a look at because, like one of you alluded to, the tax situation there is very beneficial. No state income tax like it is here in Nevada and some other states. So that's a big thing that I look at, having traveled and worked in as many states as I have for sure. But, I mean, it's not like other sports where you go, oh, maybe he doesn't want to live in that weather. He's a SoCal kid, wants to, have favorable weather. For a lot of these guys, European, let's just say it like it is. The weather in Seattle probably a lot better than in Estonia or, some of these other countries in the middle of the winter. So it can't be that. It's got to be something internally because that's really all that I can point to in terms of, what's driving away some of these free agents, especially like after they've already agreed to the framework of these deals. I mean, the deals are done. They just need to dot the I's and, cross the T's. But it's that last step, getting it over the hump, that seems to be the issue in Seattle.
No, that can't be it because remember, Vegas with the no state tax, that is a massive advantage which keeps them afloat. So I think that can't be true there, right? It's got to be a massive cheat code that you can get out there and not be charged like that.
Has to be, and especially for these guys making, like in that instance of Robertson, 8 years, $120. Yep. In theory, that's a huge difference, and especially like guys playing in California with the jock tax there, that's like 35% off the top right there. Whereas you go to some of these other places, yeah, you're not in sunny SoCal, but Seattle is a cool place to live, and especially for these hockey players where that team is a big deal there. Like I said, it's got to be something internally because outside looking in, I don't know if there's anything that I can point to.
All right, so let's talk a little baseball here. We got some news today that was pretty interesting. The Mets have decided that Carlos Mendoza will be the one that falls on the sword, and he is fired. How much was it Mendoza's fault? How much is it he was given a terrible roster?
I mean, it's a tough dilemma because he wasn't handed a terrible roster per se. There are other managers that have, made worse into better. But I just didn't think from the start that he was necessarily the right pick. And if I remember right, wasn't he not their first choice either? It was just, kind of a next man up situation, I think. And, it's you got to be really good at managing personalities to be able to corral a group like that. B, you also got to be able to be ready to go with the media pressure in New York in some of these markets. And it really never seemed like Mendoza was that comfortable in either of those situations. And, for Steve Cohen, he's shown a willingness to make moves. He's not stubborn when it comes to the Mets and their rosters. So I wouldn't be surprised if this slide continues and the Mets continue to be the way that they've been this year, that he may not be the last to fall on the sword, the manager. They may, clear house again. And every year I say it, and every year I'm, kind of laughing at the trade deadline. I'm like, if this is a team that's close to the deadline, they're going to be really aggressive with some moves. But, the last 2 years, it seems like, including this year, they're going to be going the other way potentially and selling off and starting from scratch again.
Well, I don't think they had a crap roster. But I will say, when you make a decision to not pay, this era's Mr. Met, the polar bear, Pete Alonso, and he's bouncing back and he's putting his numbers together, and he's hitting, 253 with 18 and 50-plus ribs, 55 ribs. Polanco was the guy. Unfortunately, he's been hurt. I think they tried to do it through, multiple dudes instead of having a guy like Alonso, and that, frankly, hasn't worked out. And it turned out David Stearns also built a very shaky pitching staff. So you're right. I don't know if he was the right manager, but this build this year has not gone well.
No, and the thing is, too, is with Pete Alonso, I think that's the one that really did it for me in terms of, going into the year, maybe thinking that this team was destined for not the best year, because not only was that a huge PR hit, and he even tried to set it up ahead of time. And he's a Boris guy, so he was coached on this, that like, hey, I want to come back. If I don't come back, it's on them. If I don't come back, it is the Mets' fault. So he did a great job of kind of planting that narrative throughout last season. And lo and behold, he didn't come back. And, we come to find out that it is the Mets' fault. And Alonso's one of those guys where if he's healthy, you pencil him in for 35 to 45 home runs and 90 to 120 RBIs. And, the average is what it is, but you don't really care about his batting average because of what he brings, not only in terms of the power, but in terms of his, the intangibles off the field, in terms of leading a locker room for a clubhouse that, quite frankly, doesn't have a leader right now, with Francisco Lindor not really being that guy in terms of what that clubhouse needs at the moment.
Yeah, not a good look when your team the last month or so has to put quadruple A guy. Nice story, but Jared Young in as a regular. They've also been crushed by injuries. Lindor just came back. He's barely played. I mentioned Polanco going down, so they've had trouble on that front. So it's a mess again this year with the Mets. Okay, the A's. This has been a mixed bag this month because they're surviving, but boy, oh boy, the schedule, Matt, set up for them to really make a good run this month. Lots of games against the Angels, a series against the Giants. Thank God for last night, because if they had been swept by the Giants, that's a freaking disaster. And again, what you and I and everyone else who hosts Cofield and Company, we've talked about the same theme throughout the year, and that is how do you build a bullpen so it's more reliable? And on a Friday here, again, I have no idea who the closer is. I thought Alvarado was going to be the guy. He had a rough night two nights ago. Yeah, and last night, thankfully, the hitting came through to save them.
Yeah, and that's the big question mark that needs to be answered. At the deadline, not only that, but a couple of question marks in the starting rotation as well, because this is a team that if they had an average pitching staff instead of a really bad one, would be leading a division and leading by a couple of games and in the thick of the playoff chase. And as it stands, they're fighting to stay around 500, and kudos to them. But with no Zach Geloff for this short period of time, and Jacob Wilson kind of iffy with that shoulder, you never know how long this offensive swing is going to continue. And with Alvarado, I was with you. We had talked about it. I thought he was the guy, because when he got sent down and was with the Aviators, he was dominant. And that's putting it lightly. He was kick-ass. But then he gets back up, and he's really rough. Keep in mind, too, Scott Barlow DFA'd and cleared waivers the other day, so he's a free agent. That was kind of a puzzling sign, but, it was one that going into the season, I was like, okay, it's going to give him some stability. He's a guy that had never had an ERA above 4.3 in the major leagues for a couple of different teams. So for him to give an ERA of almost 6.5 this year is really puzzling, makes you wonder what the difference is in terms of coaching for the A's, but they need an answer, and I think it's got to come externally. Michael Kelly has been dominant in the back end of the Aviators Aviators bullpen for parts of the last 2 months. So I think he's the next guy to get the call internally to try to help fill that stopgap. But I really think if you want a permanent solution, the Mason Miller deal is what it is. I think that's going to pan out with Leo DeVries turning into what I think a lot of people believe he's going to be, and that's going to be even enough. But right now, turns out they need a closer.
Also, a knife to the gut is Joel Kuhnel going to the Brewers and getting 2 saves this week.
Yeah, and the Brewers, I think I said it on this show before, they're turning into the new Tampa Bay Rays, and that's something I've kind of brainstormed around to some pitchers and people within baseball that I know, and they all kind of agree that it's one of those teams where when you see somebody pick up another team's scraps, you go, oh no, what did we miss? Because they've been able to add miles an hour to the fastball. They've been able to add break and really the stuff plus a lot of the advanced metrics to a lot of pitchers' arsenal throughout the year. And I think Joel Kuhnel was throwing 3 or 4 miles an hour harder within a week of signing with them. So they're kind of turning into the team of witch doctors. That's what I call them, because they really take other teams' trash and turn it into their treasure when it comes to pitching.
All right, John, let's use Matt here. Matt Neverett's with us, voice of baseball in Vegas. I want John's comments first. This series this weekend, what do you think of these matchups? You got Ginn and Irina, Perkins and Detmers, and Algieri and Savale.
Yeah, Algieri, I think, is the way you do it. Look, I think that when you look at the Angels, the 2 guys that they're throwing out here first, Matt, and I would like to hear your thoughts, because I do think Urena has shown some really good signs for the Angels. He's been one of the lone bright spots of a terrible year. He's got a 2.40 ERA coming to this, and Detmers too. These are 2 of the brighter spots on the rotation for Anaheim. Soriano was that, but he has definitely fallen back down to earth. Potentially, Detmer's a piece that you can go and get if you wanted to start a rotation, but it's a good test for a lineup that was kind of hit or miss over the last week or so.
Yep, and it's a great litmus test right now against a team that's been terrible. And so those pitchers that you had mentioned have really been the bright spots for that team outside of Mike Trout and Joe Adell at times. But I think Detmers is a guy who is going to be moved, and I wouldn't be surprised if he stayed in the division. I think that's a guy that the A's could really, really use in the rotation, especially from the left side, and especially with the durability that he gives you, kind of be able to save that bullpen on certain games. And for JT Ginn, he's been pretty good in his last couple of starts. Who's going Saturday in Game 2 for the A's again?
That's Perkins.
Against Perkins, I think it's kind of do or die time for Perkins in terms of sticking in the rotation. I like him better in the back end of the bullpen, someone that can stretch it out for multiple innings. His fastball velocity is always up a couple miles an hour when he throws in relief, knowing he's only going to go 2 or 3 innings max. So I think that's where he's more effective. But the A's really like him in the starting rotation. I think that's the spot where he could stick. But this may be like a tryout. Hey, if you don't show us what we need to see, we're either going to move you to the pen or make some other options, because the A's are absolutely, I think, due for a starter, and that back end of the bullpen is wide open. I think they go out and get a couple of arms.
We got to do it. This is the dirty part of baseball, because we're enjoying an unbelievable season, and a lot of the supposed have-nots are more than competing. But we got the upcoming labor discussion on the way, and baseball dropped a bombshell yesterday. And one of the things they would like to implement is something very NBA-like to try to help teams have a little advantage in keeping their own players. How do you think the MLBPA is going to react to players changing organizations to get a max 5-year deal, but if they stay with their team, they can get 6 years? How do you think that'll go over?
Oh, my God, with Molotov cocktails. I think that they are just throwing gasoline onto an already incendiary fire. I've been telling you, Steve, right, for parts of 2 years plus that this is going to be an absolute disaster, and this is worse than I even thought it was going to be. I mean, these sides are just so far apart. They're talking things and throwing things out there in the public that just are so far from the central core of what the issues are and the big discrepancies are between the two sides. So I think the more stuff that just gets kind of tossed out there in the public and in the media, definitely leaked on purpose to certain writers. Keep an eye, too, on which writers and which media sources are the ones posting these first, because they're the ones that are, in the pocket of the league or the Players Association, as you guys well know. But, I mean, this is just going to be a mess. Get your fill of regular season Major League Baseball here in 2026. Because we may not have much, if any, in 2027. It's really going to be a shame. And like you had kind of alluded to at the beginning, it's incredible that the timing could not be any worse for a sport that's got as much momentum as it has since, in my lifetime, since the 1994 labor dispute was really the last time that it's been this bad.
Scott Boras said of the league's proposals, It's like offering, quote, a few pieces of nice furniture if you'll move into a room that has a 4-foot ceiling. They're trying to move back to an arcane salary structure of the 90s.
Oh, my goodness.
Baseball also keeps saying in all of these ideas, we're doing this for the fans. I saw one fan respond and say, you know what? If you're doing it for the fans, then cap concessions at $5, cap parking at $20, cap tickets at $50. Then you're doing something for the fans.
You're doing something for the fans. If I'm a fan of, let's just say the Kansas City Royals, and I know that I'm going to be able to see Bobby Witt for the next 10 years, that's for the fans. To say you're doing it for the fans is an absolute joke. That is laughable because there's so many things that they do that are just against the fans. If you want to go for the fans and the blackouts, that's the easiest thing you could do.
That one is incredible that we're still dealing with that. Matt Neverett's with us, voice of the Aviators.
I'm sitting here in the lobby of my gym yelling about it. That's how fired up I am.
All right. Wow, you're going to the gym. Look at you. Impressive.
We knew that. Look at him.
Let's close. Workout Warriors.
What are we hitting today?
Oh, boy.
Leg day, baby.
That's right.
What's Aviators are in Sacktown. What's coming up for the Aviators when they're back in Vegas?
Yeah, so this is the first series of the second half. Aviators first half champions, so they will not only be in the PCL Championship Series at the end of September, just like last year, they'll be hosting it in a 3-game series. AviatorsLV.com. We're already selling those playoff tickets, baby. But on the road for the first 2 weeks of the second half, they're in Sacramento for 6 right now, and the Aviators are blazing hot, best record in AAA right now. They'll go to Salt Lake next week, take on the quadruple A affiliate of the Angels, I guess, if you want to call it that. Not much of a separation between them and the big league club, but then they come home and take on Tacoma, the Rainiers with the Mariners. It's one of 2 series for the Mariners AAA club here in Vegas in the second half of the season. So a lot of fun giveaways coming up for that one. There's a Harry Potter giveaway, which I know is a very, very popular one that'll be already sold out here in a couple of weeks. But yeah, again, AviatorsLV.com to come on out. We got Battle for Vegas going on at the ballpark tomorrow too. The Raiders versus Golden Knights softball game with Riley Smith and Brock Bowers as the 2 captains of those teams. I think it's B4V.com to check out tickets for that one.
And advice to any of the Raiders and VGK, if you have not played softball or baseball recently and you have not shagged flies, let someone else try to catch outfield flies, or just tell them you can't play the outfield. Because we did have a case a couple of years ago where one of the Raiders players got plunked right in the head because he misjudged the fly.
Oh, who was it? Yeah, offensive lineman. I forget his name. It was out of Alabama, if I recall. He got punked right in the head, right in the forehead. I remember that one.
Matt, have a wonderful weekend. We will talk to you soon, buddy.
Happy to help you guys. Hey, I had lunch with Caleb Herring today. Rebel football coming up in less than 2 months.
Let's do it. August 29th, the opener. Thanks, Matt. In this era, where there's a lot more, listen, social media can be a nightmare, but I think one of the things it brings is it brings so many more voices in, and it also, you don't have to rely on, as Matt, I don't even know who he was accusing, I hadn't even thought of that the league, MLB, and Bobby Manfred have mouthpieces in the media, kind of like the NFL. Adam Schefter is a mouthpiece. He wants to stay in the good graces. I don't even know who they are in baseball. But because of social media, you have so many more people who get involved in a discussion like a labor deal. And I'm proud to see the advances in the talk of these Major League Baseball negotiations, because I've been doing this for a long time, and I can remember back in the day, I felt like a lone wolf, like amongst the 10% of people who were like, why are you siding with the owners? What is wrong with you? Like, that could be your boss. Mm-hmm. We have great bosses. But most people, they look at their bosses and they're like, you know what? They deserve to make a lot of money. Let's be fair. Because that has always been the case where people have targeted the players like, how much do you need to make? I don't know. How much does the sport make? They're the talent. They're the employees. It's always been hard for people to embrace, like, I'm going to back the millionaires versus the billionaires. You still should. But no one would, very rarely. What I'm setting up here, no one would back that. What I'm setting up here is, I wonder how many, in our business, how many sports talk radio hosts will actually speak on behalf of the owners? Is there anyone left? Is there anyone dumb enough to side with the owners in this whole thing?
No. I think we've kind of reached a point where if you're on a platform like this where your opinion matters, because when it comes to the mouthpieces in baseball, and just in any sport in general, I think it's easier to be a mouthpiece when you're just generally reporting what they want you to report as opposed to espousing your opinion on the matter. Does that make sense? Like we talked about it with the Miami Heat, where you're getting the stories out there that you want, and baseball will want that, and so that'll happen. But when you're on a platform where your job is to speak your true opinion on what this is, that is such an unpopular side that it wouldn't even be looked at as genuine.
The sport is killing it. There's more balance now than there's ever been. You guys can fight that all you want, but we've had 15-plus champions, different markets that have been champs in this century. Almost everyone has a chance to make the playoffs if their owners try. The other thing is, and this speaks to local sports talk people and the real influencers, the voices, and then also social media people, content creators. All you got to do is look at, especially the owners who try poor and don't put money into the team, when they sell the team, what sort of profit do they get when they sell the team? Like, the cheapest guys in baseball right now are the Monforts. They cashed out like a quarter of the team with the Rockies for billions. The Pod Squad and their owners tried, and obviously there's a transition because there was a death, but the new owners are paying $3.9 billion. If the sport is struggling, what are billionaires, morons? No. They're just going to piss away their money and buy into baseball? So the sport's not struggling. The A's are competing. The White Sox are competing. The Pirates are competing. You know what? It's funny. I could go on and on with this forever. But it's funny. My theory in the offseason was, if you looked at, who did I just mention? The A's, the White Sox, the Pirates. My assertion in the offseason, because all of those teams had really interesting moves in the offseason, John. Mm-hmm. A's signed 4 or 5 core dudes to long-term contracts. Ooh, okay, that's a nice move. The Pirates. Boy, this trade worked out. Brandon Lowe, however you say his name. Holy crap. Yep. When I saw that move, I was like, why are the Pirates making... Ooh, I wonder if this is in advance of negotiations. And Bobby Manfred is like, you can't be little sisters of the poor. You got to show you're trying a little bit. The White Sox got the most elite available Japanese slugger. 3 organizations trying, spending money, but here's a great thing. It's backfiring.
Right.
Because they're all pretty good.
Yep.
So now this claim that we can't compete. You can't?
White Sox might win the division.
Holy
Pirates
crap.
could be a playoff team. Your point, like all of this.
The Pirates just took 2 or 3 from a Final Four team from a year ago in Seattle.
Yeah.
I love it. I saw MLBPA interim executive director Bruce Meyer. Quote, the smaller market, lower revenue teams, in general, are the most profitable teams in baseball. He said it would be eye-opening for fans to see how much some teams profit simply from revenue sharing under the current system. But you know what baseball has been really good at over the years? Hiding their numbers. Mm-hmm. They don't want that out there.
Oh, no. Well, you talk about having an opinion on the labor negotiations. If that came out, it'd be riots.
And all the stuff that's existed forever, there's still a couple of, idiots, mouth breathers, sorry if I'm insulting you, but too bad, who are on social media who are like, Yankees, Dodgers! Yeah. Okay. They have some advantages, but the money doesn't guarantee you anything. And if you've got good personnel people, you draft well, you sign the right guys to long-term contracts, you can compete. It's not a perfect system. It's not. No. And if they want to have just a slightly higher ceiling and they bring up the floor, listen, MLBPA is going to fight on anything, but I think that would work. But some of the other stuff they're talking about, and I like that the players are real militant. Like last year was it last year? At the end of last year? Or beginning of this year, maybe spring training, and it's important this guy did it. When Bobby Manfred came in and started talking up the Phillies clubhouse, and Bryce Harper reportedly was like, get out.
Yeah.
Get out. For Bryce Harper to do that, good for him. Las Vegas Bryce Harper.
That's right.
Billionaire to be. He's not a billionaire, but, 12-year, $340 million deal.
Sure.
Actually, a discount for the Phillies in the end. But that all said, just past the halfway mark, this has been a great baseball season. I think the trade deadline is going to be incredibly active. You're going to see teams that you would never expect to be sellers, like the Red Sox sell. Yeah, I'll give you another great story. I thought this was a rebuild for the Cardinals.
That's incredible. That to me is insane. I thought they were going to be awful, like high 60 win, awful, and they could probably fall off, but they're not going to be that bad at all. And they have young pieces too. That's the big part about it, where all of a sudden you see these young guys they have kind of hitting all at the same time, not like quite literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
And you're looking at them going, holy smokes! And you see the Cubs like toiling around in like third of the division at times, not really understanding what's going to happen with them. It's been incredible to watch the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah, Cardinals, and like you said, it could fall apart in the second half. But the Cardinals have this weird lineup of a couple of young prospects, but they had a bunch of dudes who were their prospects who are now 25, 26, 27, and they're finally all coming together at the same time. Like putting up really good numbers. And then, obviously, Jordan Walker, and I don't think he's going to get much play for MVP, but based on the fact that the expectations were so low, he is their young star, and I think most people are like, okay, it's just not going to happen. But that dude's a monster. He's 6'6", 250, and had just not put it together this year. 290, 18 homers, 58 ribs.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I'm not a Cardinals fan. I'm not. But the Cardinals being good is good for baseball. They have the best fans. At least they say so.
Yeah. Well, and look at, I mean, to your point about, because the system's not perfect, and I do think the Dodgers are part of this in terms of, you can talk about a salary cap, whatever it is. There should be a floor as well. But my whole point being, what the Dodgers have done really well, too, is draft and develop guys in a farm system that seems to be endless. No matter how many arms they lose to injury, there's another one popping up. It's like Hydra, right? When you cut off one head, two more pop up. No matter what happens to that pitching staff, doesn't matter. There's another arm coming up. There's something else ready to go. They've done a tremendous job in that facet of their system, too.
They hired the Rays people who, the ones they left behind, still run the Rays system, which is incredible depth in the organization. And the Dodgers do it with money.
Nope.
And they make sure that they have like 44 guys who can play during the season, and then you try to make it to the finish line somewhat healthy, but you have depth. So this baseball season's been awesome. I think the second half is going to be tremendous. We're tracking World Cup soccer now. What is it, Spain and Uruguay? Going at it. That one's scoreless. Uruguay. 26 minute?
Yeah.
There's a run here. Nothing.
Actually, that's an 8, so the 29th minute.
Oh, my bad.
No, you're right. It looks blurry, but yeah, it's 29th minute.
Does it look blurry or am I? Yeah, because the TV that's really far away, I can actually see clearly. What's going on? Come on. Got to get it together, Fox. All right, coming up, we got to get into some of the NBA moves of the week. I didn't get John's take on Giannis. John was very anti-Heat getting Giannis, and they landed Giannis.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
Last chance this week, week number 1 of our Lotus Summer of Fun. We're giving away trips every week in celebration of the 4th of July and our 250th birthday. All domestic trips. You can take the trip or take the cash upwards of $3,000 if you win it. And all you got to do each day is text in our code word of the day for the Lotus Summer of Fun, brought to you by Terribles and Bay Law Injury Attorneys and ESPN Las Vegas. Word of the day today, code word of the day, all the America-themed words. This one is just strong. Strong. Text that in to 702-364-1100, 702-364-1100. Text it in. Strong. Your last chance this week to win a trip. This trip is to Boston and Philadelphia. We'll get to the World Cup update here in a couple of minutes. Mega deal goes down for the Golden Knights. Skorafiev out. Pavel Dorofeev traded to the Rangers. As I saw one tweeter just mentioned, he has the potential to be the greatest show on Broadway. Okay, well, Knights moved on him. After, 72 goals the last 2 regular seasons. They got 2 firsts and a second, including a first in this draft. The Rangers have reportedly signed Dorofeev to 7 years and $77 million, which that is close to top-end money in the NHL. So they've made a big investment, and the Knights have decided he wasn't our guy for that kind of money, so we'll see what they're going to do.
Yeah, I'm really interested. It seems not Raiders-esque entirely, but the Raiders seem to have turned a new leaf when it came to their offseason and the end of the regular season last year. So I'd be curious to see if this is a changing of the guard in a sense where they're going to look more toward building with youth and picks, or, like you said, they're just going to start moving some stuff around so they can go grab another big guy.
I don't know if they can move Aiden Hill and $6.5 million a year.
Yeah.
They've got to make a decision on him. If you're going to invest that kind of money, then he's got to play. Clearly, at the end of the season, when they switched to Torts, the goal was, hey, Hill out. We got to get a guy in here who's going to play Carter Hart. It worked out pretty damn close to win a Stanley Cup.
I mean, didn't really do yourself any favors when Tortorella refused to put Aiden Hill in after Carter Hart was giving up goals left and right. So if you're going to be trying to sell, part of the conversation is like, you guys don't even want him. What are we doing? Didn't even trust him.
Let's wrap up the NBA week by first mentioning the NBA Summer League is just 13 days away right here in Vegas. The legal tampering period is less than 4 days away. That's when we really get rocking and rolling in the NBA. This week was highlighted by Giannis going from the Bucks to the Heat. Back on the 18th, JVT said, shocking, Miami Heat don't have a package good enough to land Giannis.
I said that.
Bro, what happened?
I said that. It's a lie.
It's directly from a rundown.
That's there's no proof.
I don't make things up. There's proof. And you said it on the air. Well, what do you think happened? Because I don't like the deal for the Bucks.
Well, I think there's a couple of things. First off, they were just willing to offer more in terms of draft assets and whatnot. So that's going to be part of it, right? Then there's some interesting pieces. There's Tyler Hero, which is whatever. Like, not to say that Tyler Hero's not a good player, but it's not the cornerstone that I think a lot of people think he's going to be. Cal Ware's a nice, intriguing prospect. Jaime Jaquez Jr., Casiparius Yakuchonis, the big guard that they got as well, is pretty young. But there's no guy that you're really looking at and going like, hey, this is our dude. This is our next Giannis. There's really nothing there. We'll see what the picks turn into. It sounds like the Celtics were just more than willing to say, hey, here's Jaylen Brown and maybe a draft pick, and that's it. And they didn't want to budge on certain pieces. Hugo Gonzalez was one of those pieces that potentially they weren't willing to move on. So we'll see if that comes back to bite them. But it sounds like this is just a matter of the Heat were willing to offer more. The Bucks needed to move Giannis. And at the very least, you can convince yourself some of those draft assets might turn into something down the road.
Some of the reaction to Giannis going to the Heat was, well, I mean, good move for him, I guess, but he's no closer to winning a title. That's not true.
Oh, I mean, he's incrementally closer. The Heat this year, or this version of the Heat coming up, I should say, are better than the Bucks this year. There's no doubt about that. So in that sense, they're wrong because he is technically closer because that team is better. I still think it's an inherently flawed roster that when you get to a best-of-7 series will start to show some warts. I think they're going to be a very good regular season team. I think they're going to be a near-elite defensive team if they're going to be fully healthy with Bam Adebayo and Giannis Antetokounmpo and Andrew Wiggins and Davion Mitchell. That's a good starting four. And then if you get Norm Powell to help with the spacing, it's really solid. Having said that, that spacing is going to be a nightmare once you get into the postseason. And I'm sorry, I keep seeing people tell me, well, Bam Adebayo's taking more threes. I say, well, that's fine. But if you put me on an NBA floor and I just start chucking, that doesn't mean they're going to respect me and the spacing's going to be there. Bam shot 32% from three. So that is still a guy that in a postseason series, if you're choosing ways to go down with the ship, the first option is going to be if Bam Adebayo shoots 47% from three and that's how we lose, then that's how we lose. So I think that's going to be a real problem for him. And by the way, some of the pieces that they're supposed to be sniffing around outside of Norman Powell, Buddy Hield, he just signed with Atlanta. Klay Thompson might be an option for you, I guess. But, Klay's long in the tooth. So the options to fill this roster out with shooting are thinning out, and they're going to thin out quickly.
Heat's win total, 49.5.
It's very high. I'd go under. I'd pick quite a few teams that I think are going to be better than them next year. And those teams, by the way, I just say real quickly, they have options still to get better. The one I keep going to, Detroit. Detroit is 10-1 to win the East behind the Miami Heat. Detroit is potentially going to add or going to ask about Tyler Hero. They're going to call about Kawhi Leonard. They're going to call about LeBron James. They have cleared out their cap space to the point where they are ready to land a big salary. They are going for it. So they're going to be better, and yet the market is sitting there putting them at 10-1 behind Miami. Indiana, if they're healthy, Tyrese Halliburton, Ivica Zubac, the Knicks. Yeah, there's so many teams.
What are the Heat going to do in the backcourt?
That's the question. Starting point guard is a real question. So Davion Mitchell is going to be their starting point guard. And for those who don't remember, played at Sacramento, really good defensive-oriented kid, can shoot. Played at Baylor, if I remember correctly. Yeah, right. He's played at Baylor, for those who remember, was part of that title team, if I remember correctly. So it was really, has some pedigree to him, and he's a good player. But that's why the Yakuchonis player, who, if you're not familiar with him, you can look him up. He was supposed to be their kind of point guard of the future, but he gets shipped off. There's not much ball handling on this roster. So that's going to be a really big question for them behind Davion Mitchell. Who in the world are you going to start to turn your bench minutes over to?
How much can Norm Powell get elsewhere?
I think he can get a bit, yeah. He's going to be a hot commodity.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think teams like the Lakers, others are going to be asking about Norm Powell.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you can go and sign him. Well, go and ask what's going on.
Well, I was thinking of a Lakers tie from this standpoint. If Austin Reeves was a target of the Pistons and maybe the Nets, I'm not saying Norman Powell because of his age.
No, he is.
But that would be like another guy on that, that 2, maybe small lineup 3. That would be next in line.
Yes, of course. I mean, if you're Detroit, you're absolutely. I think that was reportedly one of the options that they're looking at too, to go and get, would be to add Norman Powell, which is why some of those names like Klay Thompson and Buddy Hield popped up, just in case Powell wasn't going to re-sign with Miami.
Kawhi.
Well, he doesn't want to go to Miami, but we'll see.
In general, you mentioned him for Detroit.
Oh yeah, I think he's gone.
So what's going to happen? I
don't know. Well, here's the thing that's annoying: the NBA won't get off its ass and decide what it's going to do with Kawhi in terms of this Aspire investigation with the money under the table that he got from that fraudulent company, or allegedly. So until you get a decision there, if you're Detroit, Miami, any of these teams, San Antonio, Toronto, why would you risk trading for him knowing that there's a league investigation hovering over him and some sort of suspension or anything could be handed down the moment you go and get him? The league's screwing over a lot of teams here, including the Clippers, obviously, and I don't think they care about that, but these other teams that might want to go get him, absolutely. And there's reports he would re-sign with Toronto. He's up for a contract extension. So there's definitely rumbling in his camp that is maybe pushing this out to get out of L.A. The Clippers are going for a youth movement. They're keeping Keaton Wagler. And they should, yeah. They're keeping Keaton Wagler. They shipped off Ivica Zubac for a pretty good haul. They shipped off James Harden. They're really steering into this. Darius Garland's a young piece that they acquired. They are really going for a youth movement and selling, I should say, Kawhi Leonard when he's at his highest value in a very long time. That you have to do it.
One more minute here on the NBA, and then we got to pay the bills before we close it out with the grab bag. I want to run this one by you because I have a feeling you may say pump the brakes a little bit, but there was a lot of social media attention thrown at what the Spurs did in the draft because Wemby obviously needs some other bigs around him and protectors, so he's not getting pushed around so much. The Spurs seem to have a theme. They drafted Jaden Quaintance, who's more of a future guy, but 6'9", 250 with arms that are go forever. Tarish Reed, 6'9", 265. People are going kind of crazy about, hey, some Wemby protectors. Do you like this?
I mean, I guess to an extent. I'll see what they do in free agency, too, and see what they're going to add, because I think they need some shooting, some more consistent shooting. But, I mean, I think they're a team that's kind of pretty solid with the way that they've been built in terms of, like, they're going to take the Thunder route and just go, yeah, like, we're just going to roll this back. I mean, we're in the NBA Finals. Why wouldn't we give this another shot? We have the best player in the world. So we're going to keep with the continuity. There we go. So I think it has to make some sense. You're going to roll some guys out there. I'll lock Caitlin Clark. You're not going to let that happen to Wemby. You're going to put some guys out there to get some minutes and eat some fouls and beat some guys up.
You read my mind.
Yeah.
Like, get some big guys who can intimidate, and Quaintance could grow into that frame, which is ridiculous.
It's funny, to your point, do you remember in the Knicks series when Jalen Brunson got knocked to the floor a couple of times? It was demure Jose Alvarado after the game that said, yeah, it's not going to happen again. Trust me. It was Jose Alvarado.
Remember, when you come out here to the Golden Circle Sports Bar, they are open early for the World Cup games all next week and through the rest of this thing, which goes through the middle of July. And they do have breakfast. Breakfast is served midnight to 12:30 on Saturday and Sunday. Great items like the chorizo con papas breakfast bowl, the breakfast sandwich, the chicken chilaquiles as well. We'll come back, wrap it up, live at Treasure Island, ESPN Las Vegas on a Friday.
Cofield and Company presents Grab Bag on ESPN Las Vegas.
Stick your hand in there, Dave.
Well, one more update on the Golden Knights. They have some extra picks in the draft tonight. Why? Because they traded Dorofeev to the Rangers. He signed a 7-year, $77 million deal, and now we'll be looking for the Knights to make one of those splashy big moves, or maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe they're just reorganizing the roster and decided that Dorofeev wasn't worth $11 million a year. John Von Tobel, Cofield, ESPN Las Vegas, grab bag time live here at Treasure Island. Sometimes you go to the weekend, and during football season, you and I are on 7 days a week. We're doing shows on the weekend. You can hit everything, but I won't be on this weekend. I don't know about you. There are stories that come down on a Friday, and you're like, oh, boy, this is going to be a big one. I don't think this will die down over the weekend. I'm going to set this up by saying, because of fan narratives, sometimes media narratives, you get people in sports described as the villain, the undisciplined person, the unlikable person. And I remember an old one where, for a long time, Allen Iverson really got heat from people on his attitude and, practice, all that stuff. And he finally snapped one day, and this is before all the troubles with this player later on. But I remember Iverson coming out, and he's like, hey, you guys are the ones who swear by Kobe Bryant as being this great guy and saintly and, rest in peace. But obviously then Kobe had his issues in Colorado. But over the years, when Tiger Woods got in trouble, it was like, oh, Tiger Phil, the rivalry, Tiger Phil. Oh, I side with Phil. He's the good guy. Is he? Is he?
Doesn't sound like it.
You got 45 seconds here. Sorry, I took a lot of the time, but this is a crazy story about his womanizing.
Go to Scratch, SKRATCH. Alan Shipnuck did a great job on this piece, but some of the crazy stuff out of here, including Pat Perez's wife at the time telling Shipnuck that during a dinner, when Perez went to the bathroom, Phil showed her a picture of himself fully naked with an erection while flexing one of his biceps and told her, come see me when Pat falls asleep. That's just one of the many stories in this piece right now about Phil Mickelson.
Well, was there another note that he basically had like a secret stash house on a golf course?
There was a buddy that was staying at the golf course or at a house on the golf course, and he would pay kids that worked at the golf course $500 to drive his phone around in a golf cart so his wife, when she would check his location, would see that he was out on the course. And by the way, if you're wondering, oh, here's this guy, these people are quoted. They are putting their names on it.
Good old Phil, or no one thinks he's good anymore. Enjoy the weekend, everybody. Thanks for Treasure Island.